Hello, guys, and welcome to the Stardom Cast, your weekly audio source of all things World Wonder Ring Stardom. I'm your host, Rob Goodwin. I am joined as ever by Mr. Matthew of the Turner. Mr. Turner, how are you, good sir?
Rob Goodwin, I pride myself on being a positive person. I think it's safe to say on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm usually around 11. Right about here, right now. I think I'm about a 20. I'm excited. First of all, number one reason why, right here, right now, me and you talking about Stardom, talking about the 5-star Grand Prix. Despite all the time limit draws, despite the favorite to go to the finals, not even making the play. Hey, we'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
In a phenomenal mood, buddy. Only a couple days left to work before I get on a plane to go and see you over there in England. And I actually didn't know the flight time. I Googled the other day. It's only like a little over 7 hours. So half the time.
It's not a long flight at all.
Half the time compared to Japan. Easy peasy. We do have some great shows coming up this weekend. We do have the playoffs coming up on Tuesday. Don't know where that's going. Super excited. A few hours after I get off with you, I get to chat with our good buddy Allison Danger coming back on the show. And Allison Danger has helped line us up with some really great things. Folks, stay tuned to our social medias for that. Rob Goodwin, there's only really one way to start this podcast with my positivity being at a super high, and that's with 2 dad jokes. Are you ready, good sir?
Born ready.
Doesn't matter. This is how we're starting off this podcast, buddy. What do you call a belt that's made of only watches?
Oh, if you'd have said money, I'd have known that.
What's the money one?
Oh, no, I think I do know, but I'm not going to give you the... No, you tell me, and I'll tell you what the money one is, because I think I know the answer.
So a belt made of only watches is a waste of time.
Yeah, I thought. So what do you call a belt that's made only of $100 bills?
Waste of money.
Waste of money.
Okay,
there you go.
There we go. All right, here's number. Here, there we go. Here's number 2. What do you call it when a bunch of strawberries cross an intersection or cross the street? Either or.
I don't know.
A traffic jam.
Oh, look at that. Well, allow me to
You're gonna volley back, sir? Are you gonna volley back?
Volley back. So, what did Mario say to Princess Peach when they broke up?
It's no longer Mario time.
I wish that was the answer. Look, it's not you. It's me, Mario. So there you go. That's why people tune into this podcast.
We will talk about wrestling, folks, I promise. But
I don't think we should.
No, we're good. Brother, I'm phenomenal. It's Friday as we're recording. How's everything with you? Anything fun planned for the weekend, good sir?
It was very, very warm yesterday. Me and Kirsty had to try and escape. It was 34 degrees in the house, which was 94 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah. But the problem was there was nowhere in the house that was cool. Fans were doing nothing. And obviously because we don't have AC, it was a bit hellish, to the point where we actually got a message from your lovely dear wife to say, "Ooh, bit hot in the UK, isn't it?"
Look at her, the weather traveler that she is.
Weather. So yes, that was hellishly unpleasant. But a lot better today, a lot cooler today. A cool 87. But yes, it was a bit uncomfortable. We tried to go to Wagamama's because we thought it had AC. We got there, it did not have AC, and if anything, was a little bit warmer. So we pieced out of there. Ended up having sort of like a buffet restaurant thing near us, which was very nice. But over the weekend, it is my brother's fiance. It is her birthday today. Actually, I need to send her a message. So we're going out for a meal for her birthday on the Sunday. I've got a football match, the first league match of the season. I am playing on Sunday morning. Don't you worry. I have officially retired from outfield football. We have all come to a collective decision that my knees are made of little more than tracing paper. And it's probably best for everyone if I just play as a reserve goalkeeper. So
Okay.
basically, what will
I have a
happen is
Bible here. That's why I always keep Bibles by me, but not that I want to preach my religion, but I'm a little worried, especially me coming over, that I'm gonna have to piggyback you up and down the steps of Wembley Stadium.
I will be perfectly honest. There is not a chance that Kirsty will let me get injured before this wedding and before you and your lovely wife come over to the UK. And I would drag myself to Wembley for all in. Don't you worry about that. But yes, apart from that, I think me and Kirsty are just going to spend a bit of time together on Saturday. And then I think we're having a folks over for a barbecue again on Saturday evening. So a nice little chilled weekend ahead of what will be just a chaotic couple of weeks with the five-star Grand Prix final on next Sunday. We've obviously got as well yourself and Amber coming over on the Tuesday. Aussie, Birmingham, your first tattoo.
Right here. Aussie forever, right there. With the bat right here. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you should just go the whole hog and just get the eyeball tattooed, and
Oh,
then
that's not a
just
bad
every time
idea.
you look to the right, just a little Z for Aussie or Zorro. But what
Yeah,
about you?
either way. No, we got. I think we were telling you before we hit the record button. We got Lily coming home. So tonight, I think my wife's making the usual 5-star dinner. I think like a chicken marsala or something. And I think we're going mini golfing. And tomorrow's my nephew's birthday party, 16th birthday party. And then as soon as we're done with that, we're going to a baseball game. There's a minor league baseball team in Allentown, which is about 20 minutes away from me. That every time like Lily's like, "Hey, let me know when the next baseball game is because I want to come home. I want to come home," and just happened to everything lined up. So you throw that in with obviously my second job, which I got to get that work in as much as possible because I won't be there the next 2 weeks. And it's Labor Day weekend, which is like one of their big weekends that I'll be missing because I'll be over on your neck of the woods. So
Darn,
I
darn
gotta,
it.
I gotta do as much prep as possible for them over there. And then obviously 1, 2, 3 Stardom shows. Obviously we had a Stardom show early today. I'm gonna get that in before I go to bed tonight. But busy, but in the best way possible, my man. I am a blessed individual. And what a great way to start my weekend off talking to you, Rob Goat. And about 2 hours ago, I just got my hair cut. So I'm ready to go for England, buddy. I'm ready to rock and roll, looking my dapper best. Gonna try to look my dapper best.
Absolutely, my man. Showing me up. Showing me up. I need to clearly need to up my game ready ahead of your appearance. But we have got a lot to talk about. Obviously, we've got 2 shows we are going to be talking about, both Red Stars shows, both from Sapporo. We won't be covering today's Kobe show simply because I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, and obviously I know you haven't either, Matt. So we'll be covering that next week alongside the show from tomorrow and the day after as well. So we have got a whole host of content coming next week as well. And speaking of content, Mr. Turner, what, dear sir, is coming up on our Patreon this week?
Alternate commentary, one of my favorite 5-star Grand Prix matches of all time. A match that doesn't get enough love. We go to the middle of the 2024 tournament, Micah versus Suzuki. What a great, really great, fantastic match. Haven't seen that match in about a year and change. Even when I got done recording, I even said, like, wow, this is so good. It's a match I think everybody needs to see. So alternate commentary that is already on your feed. Micah versus Suzuki in the 2024 5-star Grand Prix. We also did coming up this weekend. Homework is not only done, it's recorded. Just got to send the email to Andy Header to edit and put it up. Took me about 3 weeks to get it done. The Momo Watanabe, the full review of her win in the 2025 5-star Grand Prix. That'll be up on your feed this weekend. And I'm starting the homework now. It should be on your feed next weekend. Part 1 of probably a 3-part series of the Suriism main events. I'll be doing a review. So yesterday I just watched Suri versus Chira Hashimoto from Suriism Chapter 1. And then I follow that up by going back to back because I can't get enough Suri in my life, Rob. None of us can after what she did this past weekend. Boy, howdy. And then Suriism Chapter 2 was Suri teaming with Kairi to take on Arisa Nakajima and Takumi Iroha. So more than likely chapters 3 and chapter 4 will be on that, which is Suri versus Chira Hashimoto. And I believe chapter 4 was, I'm thinking off the top of my head, I believe it was Suri and Natsupoi versus Azumi and Takumi Iroha. I think I have that one right. It was either that one or Suri and Mako Satomura, but I'm going to divide it up into 4 parts because by the time we get done with the Suriisms, that'll be done in Shinjuku Face. That'll be chapter 11 and chapter 12. So it'll be part one will be 1 through 4, and then part two will be 5 through 8, and then 9 through 12 will be part three. So that part one of the Suriisms will be on your feed next week. And then more than likely the week after, since I'll be in England, I'm probably just going to bang out a whole bunch of like alternate commentaries from just around the horn, not only Stardom, Marigold. I might do something over there. I might do a little match of Miyu Yamashita versus Mike Bailey from our friends over at Pandemonium Pro. I found on YouTube the other day, Jordan Castle on the call. He was phenomenal. It was a great match. So I might do a little alternate commentary on that one just because I need to load up some stuff in the can for Andy to put up while I'm over there in England. So stay tuned to that. But as always, my friend, so much great material, past, present, and future over on the World of Joshi. Patreon exclusives.
Just want to give a shout out as well to Patreon member Alton. Yeah, here, I hope I've pronounced that right. I'm so sorry, Alton, if I haven't. Who messaged me to say that he'd put one of the wrong email addresses for the Predictions League challenge. But he did tell me that he was actually, as he was messaging me, live in Ota Ward watching Marigold Summer Destiny. So I hope you had an absolutely sensational time and enjoyed the apparently 4 3/4 star match, the Dave Meltzer special. It's been given, but at least he watched it, I suppose. The special tag match, Mayu and Victoria Yuzuki versus Spark Rush. Hope you had a great time, my friend. Yeah, 4 3/4 stars. It came out just before we came on air. Moving on then, let's talk about some news then, Matt Turner. And obviously, we are approaching the business end of the 5-star Grand Prix, and that means that we have eliminations in abundance, especially from Red Stars, with Red Stars being basically complete now. Blue Stars, we've got a whole host of matches. I think everyone has 3 matches left to go, so everything to play for there. Red Stars, as I mentioned, quite a few eliminations. We know, spoilers, again, if you haven't watched the Sapporo shows, we know that Sayurida is definitely through. We know Micah is definitely through. We know Azumi is definitely through. We just don't know what seed that they are going to be. But it's looking increasingly like Sayurida will be number 1. And it looks like Micah or Azumi will probably be number 1 in Red Stars A as well. One person who will not be making it through is Utami Hayashishita, who was set somewhat on the back foot with a poor start. Defeated Lady C in the main event of the first Sapporo show to keep hopes alive, but then a loss to Maki Ito on the second Sapporo show meant that she can no longer qualify. Now, we're obviously going to be talking about these shows, Matt, and just the host of draws that we had. 3-on-1 show was a little bit much, and a couple of which didn't really make sense, but we'll talk about that in a moment. What are your thoughts on Utami's early exit, and sort of the manner of her exit as well, being eliminated well before the final couple of shows, well before the final night of block action? And also, where are Stardom going here? Because when we did our primer and when we did our predictions, and I don't know how many of the wonderful friends of the Stardom cast who did the pay-per-view pick'ems, I don't know how they voted, but I know that both of us had a final of Saya Kamatani and Utami sort of coming full circle on that story, or at least putting another chapter in place for that story. Where are they going with the 5-star Grand Prix now? I was thinking about this earlier, and I have a sort of a theory, or maybe a prediction. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, a lot to unpack because again, when they first made that announcement that Utami was in Red Stars and Saya was in Blue Stars, it was at the conversion show. Everybody was like, it's going to be Saya versus Utami, Saya versus Utami. Then Suzu won the belt, and I'm like, maybe it'll be Micah. And they do Micah and Suzu and Sumo Hall for Dream Kingdom. That's if they do cash in, because they haven't done it in quite some time. Like they haven't had the winner cash in on the big show at the end of the year. So again, we don't know how that's going to play out. I did have this show on the Sapporo show, where the second one where Tommy loses to Maki Ito and now mathematically can't make the playoffs. I had that on the same time as Summer Destiny. but I was doing my notes for Summer Deaths, and I kind of just had the Stardom show in the background just so I know who won, so I wouldn't be spoiled. And I was like very taken aback by it. And obviously, a lot of people online were a little upset and like, this doesn't make any sense. Why would they have Utami bounced out? They should have done Utami versus Saya Kamatani. So, kind of a lot to think about, right? Obviously, I'm going to bring it back. I always do. I'm never going to question Taro Okada's booking because the one time I went absolutely nuclear, where I was 180, my mood was 180 degrees than where I am right here, right now. I was
Good
not happy
times.
at all.
Good
The
times.
Saya Kamatani, we know we have a lot of new listeners. The Saya Kamatani heel turn, Uncle MT thought it was like the death of the company. And obviously, it's not only the biggest thing in that's the biggest thing that's ever happened to the company, but they're all drawing New Japan in some of the venues that they both run because of just the star power that is Saya Kamatani. So I'm like, hey, man, I'm gonna be admitting to me being wrong on that one years past that I'm in the grave. So I'm wrong on that one. I'm gonna bring it up again. So I'm like, my first reaction was like, well, that doesn't make any sense. I was like, well, who am I to question Taro Okada's booking, right? Because clearly he's doing fantastic. And I know we'll get into the financials that were just released earlier today. So they're doing A-OK. So if you do remember, Rob, when we did have our little bit of when we had our primer, I did say it does look like Saya and Utami in the finals. I picked it, you picked it, Andy Header picked it, and my wife picked it. And a lot of people did pick it for the finals. By the way, Karen Peterson has a Zumi and Starlight kid, so maybe Karen Peterson knows something that we don't, Rob. So, but I did say like, okay, that's going to be my final. But I think once we get to this big Saya versus Utami match, which obviously they teased 2 days after Utami left Marigold to come back to Stardom. So I was like, well, if they're going to do it, let's get a proper build-up. You can tease it all you want in the 5-star Grand Prix, but we don't know it's official until like an hour and a half before it would happen in Sumo Hall on the 23rd of August, because Utami has to win the red block and Saya has to win the blue block. So we wouldn't officially know that was the match. So maybe they thought, hey, let's not go there just yet. Let's give it some proper build. That could be one way that I see it. Again, I still don't agree with it, but I'm going to reserve judgment until later. So I was like, but I figured if they weren't going to go that way, at least have Utami go to the playoffs in Cork and Holland coming up. Rob, this is Tuesday. Like I have to put my day off work because I'm not working that day. I'm getting up at 4:00 or whenever it is to watch it live. So I was like, well, at least put Utami in the playoffs there and have her like eat the L there, because she's going to be somebody that's going to draw tickets to that show. I just had to check the tickets like yesterday and there's like a dozen tickets left. They're going to do 1,500, no problem. So I was like, okay, I see that. My theory is, and I'll get the one super negative or the one kind of thing where I'm scratching my head, okay, let's see how this plays. Let's see how this plays out. The one thing that I don't understand is, and I mentioned how that I didn't actually watch the show complete because I was watching the Marigold show, but I did go back and watch this match a couple days ago. And first of all, Tommy, I mean, I know she's not in the playoffs. Put her in the listing of MVP because her matches were phenomenal. This match with Maki Ito, which we're going to talk about, maybe Maki Ito's best singles match she's had in a handful of years. It was fantastic. I absolutely loved it. So my only thing is Utami loses. She doesn't make the playoffs and she's not upset. Like her and Maki Ito are hugging. They're walking hand in hand.
Glad you have balled this up.
I was like, why wouldn't you be ticked off?
Even in kayfabe, like even at the start, like with the messing with the hair and stuff, it was like, you have to win this match. Like even a draw, I don't think was good enough for you. So why, whether you want to talk about it in kayfabe or whether you want to talk about it in realistic terms, why are you not like blitzing the hell out of Maki Ito? And why are you not more annoyed at the end rather than it being more of a comedy thing?
Now, this is 100% Matt Turner fantasy booking. But Rob, we really have to load up Sumo Hall coming up next Sunday for the finals of this tournament if they want to get to that 9,000 to 10,000 people, which, by the way, I think like 18, 19 sections are either sold out or nearing a sellout. So I think they're going to probably get there, which is crazy. So again, we know we got the semifinals and finals. We know we have Natsupoi versus Soriano for the final time. you're going to have to put other title matches on there if Suzu doesn't make it to the semis, if Hanan doesn't make it to the semis. However, Rob, we know that there is one champion wrestling for Stardom, arguably the greatest Joshi over the last 5 or 6 years, not named Mayu Utami, that definitely will not be in the semifinals or finals, by the name of Shuri. My fantasy booking, and it makes sense, is either on the shows this weekend or the Korakuen show on Tuesday. Shuri shows up, calls out Utami, and was like, "Where's your fire? Where's your passion? Where's that intense Utami that I fought in 2020, in 2021, and in 2022? Where's she at? Where's she been?" And they get a little scuffle. And what if they do Utami versus Shuri for the IWGP Championship in Sumo Hall? I will take that as a consolation prize of not having Utami in the semifinal. I think I'll be okay with Utami Shuri match. Now, if they just put her in some random tag, I'll be like, okay, let's see what happens. Or they could do something with Sai and Momo saying to Utami, like, you didn't even make the playoffs. Like, you came back here to like kind of take your spot, and it's a completely different Stardom. The only other thing I can think of, there's a lot of new watchers to Stardom over the last 2 years that have never really seen Utami in Stardom. They didn't see that Utami that we did. And, obviously you're watching in 2020, 2019, 2020. I started watching in 2021 when she was champion. They never saw that Utami. So maybe it's something that's like, hey, Utami's going to be here for 2 or 3 years. Let's not build right away to that Saya match. And then what do we have left for her? So maybe they're kind of breaking her down a little bit and having all these other wrestlers go over her and then building her back up. She's still very young in her career and she's still very young in life. And there's a lot of gas in the tank. So again, I'm going to reserve judgment for it. But my main thing is, as you just said, that you were glad I brought it up, is she loses to Maki Ito. Not only loses, but you figure be ticked off after a loss, but she loses, and then they're like best friends afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where's the killer instinct of Utami? And maybe it's Shuri that brings it out of her, thus building Utami up to those eventual matches against Momo Watanabe and Saya Kamatani, which is really, maybe that's the build they're going to. It's like, let's just not blow it right away. Let's do a proper build towards it. Maybe that's what it is. Again, I don't know. I'm gonna reserve judgment to see how it plays out. But let's say you, partner, because I'm still a little baffled by it, but yet I'm really intrigued as well, because I think Utami, despite all the losses, has had a phenomenal wrestling tournament. Again, Maki Ito, one of the most over characters in this company, has had her best match in years against Utami. And again, we're going to get into it when we talk about the final Sapporo show.
Yeah, the match itself I had no issue with whatsoever. And Utami's tournament as a whole, I haven't really had an issue with. The losses against Azusa Inaba and the loss against Konami. Obviously, if you are going with the idea of Utami can't get the job done against Hate, that's a fine story to tell. It does sort of make you wonder, well, she did beat Hate at the conversion. So, there is that facet to the story.
I was wrong. I was wrong on that one. I was just trying. I was throwing things at the wall. That one didn't stick.
That's the thing. Like I imagine that there will be some sort of reason as to why this is, and we can be frustrated about it and whatever, and we have got to let the story play out. Now, Utami not qualifying on its own is not a disaster by any stretch of the imagination. Obviously, maybe they're just going a different route. Maybe they've decided, stupid as it sounds, you know what, Utami's only just come in. Maybe we don't want to qualify for the tour. I mean, that again would fly in the face of her already having had a red belt shot. But again, there are different options. I wasn't a fan of the post-match. I wasn't a fan overall over the two shows. There were some really good matches. I thought Rina and Micah was fantastic. I thought that Rina Yamashita and Sayarida was great. Many people, and by many people, I'm saying me, are calling it the Kensuke Sasaki and Kenta Kobashi of Stardom.
Except again, they went on the chairs.
They did. Sayarida, by the way, not very balanced on them chairs at all, to the point where Rina had to stop her falling off. But no, I really enjoyed that match. But then there was some really puzzling results. Like, I have no idea whatsoever why Azusa Inaba and Maki Ito went 15 minutes. That really, really puzzled me. I've got no idea what is going on with Natsuko Tori. Just draw after draw after draw doesn't really make sense. You can sort of guess it, I suppose, with Azumi because you could argue that this is maybe BMI 2000's way of parlaying themselves into a title match again. But why she drew with Akira Kuragane, I've got no idea. And considering we had no draws at all until Saya Kamatani and Starlight Kid, I think that was the first draw of the tournament. At least that was the first TLD of the tournament, should I say. We've then gone on and we have had, I think it's 7. So we've had Starlight Kid and Saya Kamatani and Momo. We had 3 time limit draws over the course of this show. We've had Hanan and Momo Watanabe today.
Spoilers,
yeah. Sorry, guys.
I'm sure it was great. Watch it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure I'm missing one. And that's not counting the double count outs and stuff like that.
Double DQ. Yeah, the
double
Azumi.
DQ. So you've had
Azumi
and Natsuko Tora. You've had Akira Kuragane and Natsuko Tora. But then you've had matches. Rina and Tomoka Inaba went 5 minutes.
It's amazing.
In the semi-main. Yeah, it was a very good match. But why it only went 5 minutes, I've got no idea. I don't know. Again, mine is not to question why. There's been a couple of things that have been eyebrow raising. The Utami thing, let's see how it plays out. If we haven't had any movement on the Queen's Quest, or, I'm calling it the Queen's Quest, or the Aphrodite storyline, if we've not had any sort of update on that by Dream Queendom, I feel like that story's almost gone cold.
Yeah.
Like you've heated it back up with the debut. You had a great match at the conversion, rife with storytelling, rife with Queen's Quest lore. And then you just seem to have parked it. Now, I don't mind that necessarily, especially as you've got Saya Kamatani, who is currently in this uneasy alliance with Momo Watanabe, which clearly is not lasting.
Bro
Watanabe. So maybe they want to focus on one thing at a time for Kamatani. It's worth pointing out as well that Kamatani is not the red belt champion. So maybe that's why they are not having Utami in the final. Maybe they're just saying, look, just hold off. We're going to wait until, I don't know, Crimson Nightmare to start heating things back up. Then we're going to have the singles match at Dream Queendom. The other thing is, obviously, for me and you at least, other people are probably screaming at their TV screens or, their cars or whatever, wherever they listen to or watch this podcast, going, obviously it was always going to be this. This opens up a lot of possibilities as to who is actually going to make the final on the Red Stars side. I'm still of the opinion Kamatani wins the tournament. But again, it could be Starlight Kid, and I certainly wouldn't be opposed to that. I don't think they'll do a repeat with Momo. Maybe they have Micah, and maybe they run the 2024 final in reverse and have Kamatani get the win over Micah. I don't know. I must admit I was a little bit puzzled because I assumed that we were going to have Utami sort of run the gambit to get through to the final in the very last show. But now, obviously, I don't know. May Sarah's got like 3 matches left as well. So fingers crossed she gets through, because literally my pick'ems are all shot, because I had Tora going through. I had Utami going all the way through to the final. So, me bragging about how I was top of the predictions league is not
you jinxed
going
it.
To last. I must have done. And do you know what? I don't regret it, because I'm very rarely top of things, Matt. I'm a Newcastle fan, so it's just nice sometimes to be top of things.
Rob, real quick, I know this isn't to the Talk Joshi or the Tokyo Joshi Pro podcast. 4 people left in the Tokyo Princess Cup. Since you are the mastermind behind Tokyo Joshi Pro, who wins? We got Toga, we got Himawari, we got Suzume, we got Rika Tatsumi. By the way, my wife did pick Toga to win the whole thing. I'm like, you're out of your mind. And she's nobody had her going that far. But real quick, give me one name who wins the Tokyo Princess Cup, which does take place a few hours before the 5-star Grand Prix.
Head or heart? Head or heart?
Give me both, buddy. Go ahead. Give me both.
Head, Rika Tatsumi. Heart, Suzumi.
Yeah, I think I'm going with Suzume. But it's really weird because they're both champions, and usually the winner goes to Wrestle Princess. In Tokyo Joshi Pro, like to have 3 championship matches on that show. But again, we'll see what happens. But Yeah, going back to the 5-star Grand Prix, it's interesting. I just don't see any way it's not Micah that goes to the final, or they run it back with the Izumi. Like, I just don't see anybody else that you get that super, super classic 5-star Grand Prix final. I mean, it's just, I mean, how many 5-star Grand Prix finals have been so special between Mike and Kamatani and Izumi and Momo last year, and Julia and Tam, and obviously Momo and Shuri? I just don't see anybody else in Red Stars other than Micah. Izumi, Mike and Izumi's
They're
kind of
the
the
only
best.
two, aren't they? I mean, you
Yeah,
look at who is already through, and again, spoilers. Sairida is already through, Azumi's
love
already
her.
through, and yeah, absolutely. And again, if Sairida made it all the way through to the final and they use this final to really shine a spotlight on Sairida, I have no issue with that. I think that's a really good idea. I don't think she wins it, but I think that's a really good idea. Um, but if you look at who is sort of primed to go through, there's only one spot left in Red Stars A. You would assume that that is going to Konami, although because she's got Tsukiyoki, I think, on the final. I can't remember off the top of my head. Let me just have a quick look. So I have got them here. So Konami has got. Oh, Konami's got Maki Ito. So yeah, basically it's going to be the winner of Konami and Maki Ito that goes through, I think. Whereas Red Stars A, it's going to be Rina, isn't it? Because it's Rina that's got Isuki Aoki. That's what I meant.
Yeah. So it'll be Rina, Micah, and Izumi. I tell now not three. I tell you, I have a lot of people saying ever since the Utami got bounced, I kind of threw a question up there on social media. A lot of people thinking Rina. Friend of
I
the
mean,
show, Rina. Big fan
friend,
of the show. Hi, Rina. I hope you're doing
apparently,
well.
yeah.
Yes, and no, you win the whole thing, damn it. Win the whole
That,
but they
not what I thought would happen when you went to the ECW arena. I must
ooh,
admit.
podcast and then a really good double high five. I'm a big fan of a high five, buddy. You know that. A
I
really
know
good
that.
one.
I think the only way that exchange could have gone any better is if she'd have locked up with you. But I mean, the reaction to Rena during the Sapporo show, she was massively over, like hugely over.
Yeah.
So would it be the worst thing if it's Rena going through? Absolutely not. I'm a huge fan of Rena. I mean, it could be that it's Rena versus Kamatani in the final, and this really does start to open up those cracks in hate.
Yeah. Again, I know you want to be done in 2 hours. We got 90 minutes left. We could do 90 minutes on the possibility of Rena making it to the finals and something happens with Rena and Momo or Rena and Saya, or maybe it's something where Utami got to Rena to break down hate. Everybody thinks it's going to be Saya or Momo. What if it's Rena? Because you really don't need to do any movement with Saya or Momo just yet. And Rena's just come up so fast, so quick. Oh,
Unless
man. Go
Unless, of course, Saya beats Momo in the semi-finals. We've both got Saya and Momo going through. Could be Saya beats Momo in the semi-finals. Momo is, you know, pardon my French, pursed and costs Saya the final, whether on purpose or by accident, leading to Rena winning the tournament, which then furthers the dissension between Kamatani and Momo. I mean, that's not out of the realms of possibility.
and a lot of people are thinking whoever wins this tournament wins the belt. And maybe it's something where it's like, hey, let's keep the belt on Suzu because she's a great wrestler. We still have Utami. Our Saya Kamatani is your number one star. Doesn't matter if she's got the belt or not. She is the top dog in this company. But Suzu is obviously a great champion. But again, Rob, what if Micah wins the tournament? And we have Micah versus Suzu at Dream Queendom as your main event, special singles match, Utami versus Saya Kamatani. If you heat that back up and then you have whatever the IWGP is going to be, maybe you bring Spark Rush in because why the hell not at this point?
They're
So
everywhere else.
yeah, let's just do Spark Rush versus O2 line or Spark Rush versus Starbomb. I mean, again, what if it is Starlight Kid? Because again, she is arguably the second biggest star in this company. What if it's Starlight Kid beating Suzu Suzuki, and you can kind of on the way to whenever they have that match, you build up back with Suzu leaving Neo Genesis, and you can kind of build that back up because I believe when it was the 2024 tournament, they were Crazy Tiger Girl. They
Mhm.
were tagged, so you can tell that story. There's a lot of different ways they can go. Where obviously Sai and Utami, once they gaslight the story again with the Momo stuff, with the possible Reno stuff, is your big storyline driving. But then you put your cherry on top of Suzu versus whoever for the championship. Maybe they want to give Suzu an 8 to 10 month run. I mean, she's a great enough wrestler
Mhm.
where she's going to be having great matches. Is she as big of a star as Starlight Kid or Micah or Razumi or Sai Kamatani. No, and that's no deterioration onto her. We think Suzu's great. We love Suzu. It just goes to show you the star power of the top 5 or 6 people in Stardom. So again, hey, I'm all for a Suzu 8 to 10 month run if that's what they want to do while doing all this other great stuff in between. And then maybe again, Rob, here's throw something else out. Rena wins the tournament. She pulls a Mayu from 2018 and goes after the Wonder instead of the World. And maybe we get Rena versus Han. And I know you did say the Path of Thunder is coming back. Is that at the Light Cube?
It is. I'm going to go through it in a sec.
Right there. Maybe Rena wins it and says, I want to go to the Path of Thunder. And then Gene Simmons comes out and goes, and rock and roll. There you go. For you YouTube viewers.
No, Tonk is nowhere near big enough for that. We'll carry on talking about the 5-star very, very shortly, because obviously we're going to be talking about these two Sapporo shows. The permutations, especially in Red Stars, now that we know a good deal of who is going through, who is out, and things like that. And obviously the litany of draws and things like that. But as Matt mentioned, the Path of Thunder, dun, 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 and Rock and Roll is making a return. We'll be returning on the 18th of October in the Light Cube, Utsunomiya in Toshigi, which is obviously the hometown of Hanan, of Hina, and of Rena. Stardom did post that this is not going to be a big show, but they have said that there will be staging and lights. So it's going to it's based, I imagine it's going to be something akin to a Korakuen Hall show, as opposed to, I mean, last time was a pay-per-view, and they drew nearly 900 people, I think. And they had the white belt match between Kid and Rena, didn't they? So there is every possibility that they just run a white belt match, or they run one title match at the top of the show and then just have multi-woman tags. But it is returning, which means that our calendar is pretty much sorted now. We know that obviously on the 12th of September, we've got Stardom to the World. We know that we've obviously got Path of Thunder now coming up in October. We know that in November, we have got both Crimson Nightmare and the Goddesses of Stardom Tag League. And on the 29th of December, we've got Dream Queendom as well. So the entire roadmap for 2026 is sorted. And we've got New Year's Stars in Budokan Hall, in the Yokohama Budokan on the 3rd of January, which will act as Natsupoi's retirement as well.
And Christmas. Don't forget we have Christmas. We were really busy. Don't forget that holiday.
We do have Christmas. That is undeniable. That is undeniable. So Bushiroad released its financial results for the fiscal year ending with June 2026. Now, I am not going to even pretend that I have analyzed these. These sort of notes come from Sinnerswandle on Twitter, or at Sinnerswandle3 if you want to follow them on Twitter. And they've just basically summarized the key points that we need to know from the Bushiroad financials. Basically, it's emphasized that Stardom's record of over 8,000 people at Grand Queendom re-emphasized what we talked about before about Stardom becoming a core business for Bushiroad looking ahead, as well as its movement to a live entertainment unit, and that's due to their high growth potential. Bushiroad plans to invest more than ever in Stardom due to the many live events the company has and the synergies that can be created with their other brands. It also does mention a little bit about New Japan, but we don't need to focus too much on that, as New Japan has now been transferred to TV Asahi and Cyber Agent. But the revenue from New Japan and the fact that Bushiroad felt that it had reached a ceiling with the company is apparently the underlying reason for the sale. But good news for Stardom. Obviously, it appears that Bushiroad are all in backing the promotion. Why the hell not? It does seem as well that Stardom are investing more than ever in English commentary and obviously on English content as well, international content, with the new Stardom Global sub YouTube channel, with more and more, as I mentioned, content coming out in English, with more and more wrestlers appearing on American TV, whether that is in Ring of Honor, where obviously Hazuki is going to be wrestling in just over a week for the Ring of Honor women's title against Athena at Death Before Dishonor.
In a week. A week,
Oh,
yeah. I'll
oh
be on
yeah, a
my way
week
to
today.
Philly.
Yeah,
Yeah. Mhm.
absolutely. There's a lot going on, and that's very, very obvious. So it's exciting times for Stardom, and clearly Bushiroad sees a lot of potential in this company, potential for a lot of growth.
Yeah, the stuff that I've seen online as always. I mean, this was great. It's like, yeah, we're gonna invest more than we ever have before. So, and again, obviously, we've seen a lot of Stardom wrestlers around the horn over here on AEW TV being and getting high ratings. Their quarter hours are getting high ratings. Whether it was Mina back a handful of years ago before she signed, even we've seen Azumi there, the Hazuki numbers we've seen over there, and Sherry numbers both on Ring of Honor and AEW TV. The quarter hours have been really, really good. So it's just proofs in the pudding that they're continuing to draw and the growth is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It seems like each and every month. Yeah. And they're investing, as you said, buddy, more into the English, basically the English commentary, the English, content to get it more over here into the States. I know Walker Stewart, said something a day or two ago that he can pretty much, and I don't want to say word for word what Walker said, but it was basically like, yeah, like they are clearly investing more in it because we're getting the English commentary. And correct me if I'm wrong, partner, we're getting live English commentary next Friday or next Sunday for the finals.
I believe so. Yeah. I could be wrong because I know that obviously the G1 finals are this weekend, aren't they?
Mhm.
At
So,
Ryogoku.
yep.
So unless I'm very much mistaken, I think there might be English commentary for the Corrigan Hall show as well.
I think you might be right. I think you might be right. So again, Bushi Road, Stardom, you're looking to invest into more English commentary. Obviously, Rob and I 1000% back Walker Stewart, the best commentator in all of English. Walker is only one person. You need to hit somebody up. Matt at worldofjoshi.com as well as Rob. Do it with me early, the Stardom cast 22. Hit us up. We know our stuff and we will do it. We will do it with a lot of pizzazz and a lot of fun. The only thing we ask is make sure Fukin Death is on the show. So Rob can absolutely mark out like Chigusa Nagao does with that one guy. I forget his name on the Marvelous shows where she blows some kisses.
I do just want to shout out Brandon actually on our Patreon who suggested that the hate offshoot should be run by Fukikin Death. And I was like, how have neither of us thought of that? I just want to see what he wanted to call it because he wanted to call it something that genuinely made me laugh.
Rob, while you're looking that up, if you remember when Sting went to the Wolfpack, he had the red and black face paint. That's what Fukin Death can do. The red and black face paint.
Oh,
Right?
yes, absolutely. Is this it? Is this the show? Is this the show? Is this the one he was talking about? Yes, Death Pack. There you go. How
Ooh.
good would that be?
Oh
Death Pack
man.
is back causing mass destruction.
Oh
Fucking
man.
Death comes out looking like Conan. She'd be great.
Oh my goodness. The bandana with the FUBU jersey that
Absolutely.
Kevin Nash used to
But
wear.
with the face paint. Has
Do
to
you,
have the face paint.
do you think that Fukin Death, now I know we're getting real off kilter here. Do you think Fukin Death should take one thing of each from the original members of the Wolfpack? So example, Sting, she'll have the red and black face paint.
Yep.
Right? The FUBU jersey from Kevin Nash.
Yep.
The headband on the gimmick like Conan, and Lex Luger, the Lex Flexor. Right?
Oh, I was just
That's
going to
the
say like
illegal
a
weapon.
muscle suit. I was just
And
going to say like a muscle suit, but
well,
yeah, I
no,
like that.
use the Lex Flexor because obviously Hade has the Hate Crate and like the gimmick chairs.
Yeah.
And then she's got the Lex Flexor. So there you go. You have literally little Lex, a little bit of Stinger. Oh, no, she got to do something with Savage. Oh, she's got to have the glasses that might match the bandana.
Absolutely. There you go.
Unbelievable.
We've just
Freak out.
We've just built the ultimate creator wrestler.
Macho Man Fuking in Death. Macho Death.
Macho Death. I think we should end the podcast there.
Oh, this slide's really good too.
We have already spoken about Natsupoi and how she will be retiring from pro wrestling on the 3rd of January at Yokohama Budokan at the New Year's Stars show. However, this week, next week as we are recording, might be the most busy that Natsupoi has ever been. Not only is she facing Sioriano in a singles match, their final singles match, on the 23rd of August, she is then wrestling in Surrealism as well, where she'll be tagging with Seoriano. She will then be teaming with Seoriano against Bob Momo Banana at the Sendai Girls Top of Joshi Wrestling on the 28th of August, and she will also be wrestling on the 25th of August in a singles match in Seedling against Celine Masora. So this period of the next week or so, there's going to be a hell of a lot of Natsupoi. And that, if that's not enough poi for you, and let's face it, it's not, you can subscribe to her brand new YouTube channel, which she's just launched. Apparently content every Wednesday and Sunday that aren't show days at 7 p.m. Japan Standard Time. So lots of love for Poi.
Yeah, Natsupoi again. We mentioned this last week, and we're going to keep mentioning it. Like, she's really all foot on the gas on this retirement road. This is what it looks like now. What's going to look like as we get towards the end of the year? Again, Rob, fingers crossed, we get Sorry Poi one last time in the Goddess of Stardom Tag League. Again, we know that's why Poi and Soriano aren't in the 5-star Grand Prix, because Natsupoi is going towards retirement. Soriano's like, I'm pulling myself out of this tournament because I want to team up with Natsupoi as much as possible before she retires. Well, as much as possible means a whole bunch of tag matches coming in the fall for the tournament.
Makes sense.
Why not? Well, be something where not supposed like, I'm going to team with Ann Kanai. Like, well, not Soriano. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? So what's it going to look like as we get into the Goddess of Stardom Tag League, and then Natsupoi's final match in Sumo Hall, which obviously be Dream Queendom at the end of this year, and then just a few days later, her final match coming up in the Yokohama Budokan on the 3rd for New Year's Dream. So again, lots of point. We mentioned it on the Marigold Standard that within 24 hours, Suri having two of the best matches in all of wrestling, with the Miyamoto match from Marvelous, and obviously the tag match with Spark Rush versus Icon Arrow, Mayu and Victoria Zuki. Natsupoi legit could have some of the best matches you see in about a 7-8 day period between the Soriano match, singles match. Then the next day, team with Soriano, Soripoi versus Spark Rush. This match on the 25th will be really good because I've seen a little bit of Celine and she's very impressive. And then again, the top Joshi Pro Wrestling. They have it billed right now as the semi-main event, the way that I'm looking at the card. But you're tab Soripoi versus Bob Momo Banana, two of the most consistent Joshi tag teams over the last handful of years. So, and that could be Natsupoi's final match in Sendai Girls. So, because you don't know how the rest of her schedule is going to pan out. So Natsupoi could be joining in the next month or so. She could be on the list of Joshi Wrestler of the Year with the Saya Kamitani, with Miko Ano, with the Chira Hashimoto, with the Suri and Miyu Yamashita. We might be putting Natsupoi on that list come the start of the Goddess of Stardom Tag League. So yeah, again, we're all sad to see Natsupoi go, but by no means is she be like, yeah, I'm just going to coast on this one, guys. She's literally giving us a retirement road that is going to be fantastic. It's not going to be as long as the Great Mudas, but I think match quality wise, Rob, I think it'll be, it might be a little bit better.
Yeah, she's not going to die trying, is she? Let's be perfectly honest, or die wondering on this retirement tour. She
might die trying. Buddy. These matches are crazy.
Yeah. All gas, no brakes. In the words of Jacob Fatu, she is going for it. It does beg the question how she's going to top all of these matches on the 3rd of January. Who that final match is going to be. It's not going to be Tam. Stop it. Stop it.
I'm looking at the top right part of my screen, buddy. She's pointing. That's where it is.
Yeah. Don't think that's what she's pointing at, brother. But yes, incredible stuff for Natsupoi in a very, very exciting week in prospect. Just a little bit more. Veni is going to be running a produce show on the 16th of October from Korakuen Hall, and Rina has been announced for the show. She will be teaming with Chan Yota and Maria of Marvelous against the team of Makoto, Mima Shimoda, and Nagisa Nozaki. So that's something to keep an eye on. Elsewhere, Stardom have announced that Maika Meisera and Emma Maishima will be participating in CMLL. All three will be appearing in Arena Mexico on the 28th of August. It's a good job Stardom haven't got any shows between the 5-star final and the 6th of September Korakuen, because the 28th of August, Natsupoi wouldn't be there, Soriano wouldn't be there, Aya Sakura wouldn't be there, these three wouldn't be there. It would be a very light show, I think.
I'll tell you what, good on Emma getting to, obviously, Maika, main eventer. May, we know that she's going to get a big push, again, depending on how the matches go this weekend. I think she did beat Lady C today? She did have Lady C. Okay, I love Lady
Yeah.
C, but let's go May Sarah. May Sarah's about
Saying
to
that,
get
the
that.
way this tournament's gone, mate, who knows?
Yeah,
Who
you're damn,
knows?
damn right. But May Sarah ready to get that big push, and I've been really big on Emma, especially since joining Neo Genesis. So nice seeing Emma getting this big rub in one of the most legendary venues in all of wrestling in Arena, Mexico. So good on her. You know, you can see them sending a Micah and a May Sarah, and we've seen Starlight Kid go over there from time to time. But this is a great opportunity for Emma, and I'm really excited for her, my friend.
Moving on, then, final couple of things, and this is to do with Ron Yagami, who again put out that challenge to everyone to basically say, "Come on down, have a go at my Future of Stardom championship." We mentioned last week that Remy Reed had answered the challenge. Something we didn't realize was that Izzy Moreno also answered that challenge. So Rana, being a fighting champion, because of course she is, she'll be wrestling back-to-back nights. So she wrestles tonight as we record, the 14th of August in Kissimmee for Coastal Championship Wrestling at Conquer Kissimmee 48 against Izzy Moreno for the Future of Stardom Championship. The winner of that will then take on Remy Reed at Rumble in the Jungle 30 on August 15th, so tomorrow. So 2 back-to-back defenses for the most fightingest of all Future of Stardom champions, Matt.
I'm looking at this logo here, buddy. Tripping Animals Brewery. I wonder what kind of beer they have. It's probably a local brewery there in Florida, but Tripping, that's awesome. I'll never forget that name. That's terrific.
It is. And I will just say that through social media, it looks like Ron Yagami, Hazuki, and Fuwa-chan are having the absolute time of their life in the US. So it would not surprise me. And this is going to be my hot take. I think one of them shows up in aid because they're doing the Casino Gauntlet, aren't they, for the men's at All In. Wouldn't surprise me if they do something like that for the women as well, maybe on 0 Hour or something like that. Maybe Hazuki?
They did it last year where Sherry showed up, but that was Texas. But I mean, they're flying all over the state. So what's at this point? What's flying over to England at this point? Yeah, because I don't think they have really anything going on. Hazuki's again, guys has this Friday, and then that would be next Sunday. And they haven't really flushed out, Rob.
She's already with the AEW roster.
Yeah, I mean, and here's something else too. They haven't announced, other than like 1 or 2 matches, they haven't announced the full card for the Eve show. I know it's sold out. I know we have Yamashita versus Kaylee Ray, which I'm so excited for. But I know like Sky Blue's announced, but I don't think they announced her match. I know Marina Shafir's announced, but I could have this wrong. I don't think they announced her match.
They did initially. It was going to be Alice Inc., but I think Alice Inc. got injured, so they're not sure at the moment.
So what if it's a Sky Blue versus Arana? Or I know at Warriors of Wrestling, they did Marina versus Suzuki, which got really, really high praise. I didn't get a chance to see it.
Luck, wouldn't it?
Hey, I'm going to be there. Let's do it.
I'm going to be there.
I'll let you know. You're going to be hey, you had the choice. You could have said, I'm going to be sick that day, buddy. There's a lot of, could have got away with a lot of things, buddy. For the love of wrestling. Just seen some of the stuff I've said. Yeah.
Yeah. I wish.
That's Suzuki.
I don't think my friend would understand me not turning up to his wedding because, and I quote, it's Hazuki. Anyway, let's move on. Let's start talking about the Sapporo 5-star Grand Prix show. So we have back-to-back Sapporo shows. The first one, night 10, was aired live on the 8th of August. Now, it is worth pointing out that as I mentioned at the tail end of the tournament, we have people already eliminated. Rian, Lady C, Sayaka Kurara, and Kikyo Furusawa all already eliminated, but there are lots of permutations heading in now to every show about people who can both progress through to the playoffs and be eliminated. So Azumi, if she wins over Itsuki in this tournament, No, Sayaka Kurara, we didn't mention this before, and we should have done. She did get eliminated after the Korakuen Hall tournament because of Azumi's win over Itsuki Aoki, because she could only make it to 6 points and had lost both the tiebreakers to Azumi and Maika. However, Akira Kuragane, if she were to lose to Tomoka Inaba, she would get eliminated. Tomoka Inaba also needs to win to stay in contention. Azusa Inaba will be eliminated if she loses out to Maki Ito, though a draw would keep the hopes very faintly mathematically alive as well. Both these shows, by the way, were inside the Chateau Gato Kingdom Sapporo in Hokkaido. The attendance for this show, 592. This show marks the first time that Stardom have run a 5-star Grand Prix show in the venue, and it's a 45.45% increase on the company's previous attendance there, which was 407 on the 16th of November as a part of the Goddesses of Stardom Tag League. Let's talk about the results then. As before, any matches that are not 5-star Grand Prix matches, we're just not going to talk about. So it does give Matt a chance to exercise his sensual vocal cords and give you his match rating. And we start with that right here. So we open with a tag team match. Waka Tsukiyama and Emma Maishima defeated the Stars duo of Saya Ida and Motoi Hamabe. Waka getting the pinfall over Motoi Hamabe with the Osui suplex in 7 minutes and 17 seconds.
3.25 stars.
Red Stars A then from the 5-star Grand Prix. Tomoka Inaba did move to 6 points, defeating Akira Kuragane, who stayed on 1 and is thus eliminated from the tournament. Tomoka winning with the Tomoka Whirlwind kick in 6 minutes and 57 seconds. Red Stars A again, Azumi moved to 7 points, with Natsuko moving to 6. That match ending in a double disqualification in 9 minutes and 42 seconds. Tag team match, Sapporo, Natsupoi and Saori Anou defeated Cosmic Angel, Sayaka Kurara, and Ann Kanai. Saori Anou pinning Ann Kanai with the German suplex in 8 minutes and 16 seconds, Matt.
4 stars. Love Sapporo.
Red Stars B then, Maki Ito moved to 6 points, Azusa Inaba to 4 when their match ended in a time limit draw. 15 minutes. Red Stars B again, Rini Yamashita moved to 8 points, defeating Konami, who stays on 6. Rini Yamashita pinning her with the implant in 10 minutes and 26 seconds. Red Stars A, Micah moved to 7 points, Rena to 5 when their match ended in a time limit draw as well. And then in your main event, Red Stars B, Utami Hayashishita won the match just by beating Lady C, who stays on 2 points, with Utami staying in the tournament with the Torture Rack bomb in 11 minutes and 8 seconds. Matt, let's talk first about Tomoka Inaba and Akira Kuragane. Akira Kuragane, I think, lasted longer in the tournament than anyone really expected. Got the shock point against Natsuko Tora at Korakuen Hall, but she had left herself far, far too much to do here.
Yeah, obviously Tomoka here was really, really aggressive. We've seen Tomoka. We mentioned this not on last week's show, but the one before. She's like really super aggressive. It's bringing out another level towards her, which I really like, and hopefully they capitalize on that post 5-star Grand Prix. I thought Akira was pretty good here, but towards the end it was just too much of Tomoka Inaba blitzing Akira with the strikes, using the crossface to set up eventually that big pop-up knee and the spin kick. I had this one, Rob, at 3.5 stars.
The first of our draws today, then, Azumi and Natsuko Tora. Again, the way this is looking at the moment is you look at who these time limit draws, these draws are with, and it feels like a lot of time they just don't want the big names to lose. And it's okay for big names to lose. You know, they don't lose any shine losing in a tournament. A tournament is a tournament. Anyone can beat anyone in a tournament. And it does feel at the moment, and again, I'm not criticizing the booking as a whole by any stretch, but certainly these two shows, it does feel like almost a stock answer, like almost being too scared to pull the trigger on some, because again, and I will talk about this in a moment, Maki Ito and Azusa Inaba did not need to go to the time limit. This doesn't help anyone, Azumi and Natsuko Tora, because Natsuko Tora is eliminated on the next night anyway. So why they needed to protect her here and not just have Azumi beat her clean, I don't really know. It's also the second match in a row where Tora has ended a match with a draw, whether it be a double count out or a double disqualification. She really does feel like she's treading water at the moment. I know that she was previously a Goddess of Stardom champion. Really good, by the way, run for BMI 2000 as the champions. But as your leader of hate, I don't know. I expected more from this tournament.
Yeah, I had the match 3.5 stars. I thought it was good.
It was a good match, yeah.
The ending was just like, huh? So no, I didn't know this, Rob. So Tora is mathematically eliminated now.
Tora is mathematically eliminated. She won. Well, we'll talk about that on. She's not eliminated yet on this tour. She gets eliminated in the next Sapporo show.
Okay, but I mean, as of right here, right now,
She
okay,
can't
okay.
qualify. The only people that can qualify out of Red Stars A are Maika, Azumi, Itsuki Aoki, and Rina.
Okay, so
Everybody else is out.
okay, so now again, we're highlighting. I'm going to highlight a point here. I know it's a negative point. I don't tend to lean towards that, but I kind of have a touch upon it. If that's the way we were going, and we didn't want to beat Tora, just have her hit Azumi with the chair and have her get disqualified. But at the same time, it's Azumi, one of your big stars, arguably the best wrestler in the entire planet. I mean, I cannot get into enough detail about just what a special talent Azumi is. Azumi's already in the playoffs. And Rob, I believe she made it to the finals last year. In my opinion, the greatest 5-star Grand Prix match of all time. So would it have really buried Tora if she lost to Azumi either clean or a via disqualification? So what was the point here of doing another draw? Technically, it's a draw, even though it's a double DQ. It's a draw. So, and I just don't really see Azumi like as like the cheating type. I know she got frustrated towards the end, and they had a tug of war with the chair, which Tora is obviously bigger and stronger than Azumi. So what does that say for Tora? Like,
it did require you to not only suspend disbelief, but sort of hang it from the highest possible skyscraper, didn't it?
The only thing I can think of is Azumi must have really ate her Wheaties, that day, like right before, and just like she had that extra,
gear. It's not
yeah,
gear.
it's the new gear. It's maybe the fact the haircut, gives her more strength because now there's less weight on her neck. That's the way I'm feeling now with my haircut. So maybe that's what was. I just, and I love. I think the matches have been great. Obviously, I love Stardom. I can't champion this company enough. I'm a big fan of Tor, and again, Azumi's such a special talent. But some of these results, I'm kind of scratching my head at. Like, we really don't need all these draws. Again, did this need to go to the double disqualification? It was really odd. Again, I thought it was 3.5 stars. I enjoyed it, but I just kind of, I was closer to the 4-star mark, and then they had that really strange finish where the ref kid kept getting bumped and the chair came in, and it got overbooked. It was very much almost like a episode of Monday Nitro in the late 90s where it's just like, who else is going to run in? Are we going to have Fuki and Death as the Death Pack or whatever it is come in at this point? But yeah, 3.5 stars. It's a kind of a head scratcher considering that we got this match in last year's tournament. I believe it was night one, and it was really good, but it only went a few minutes. And I really would like to see a full 10 to 12 minute Azumi versus Tora match because they had two great matches earlier this year for the Goddess of Stardom Championships with O2 Line versus BMI 2000 back in Corkin, and then again at All Star Grand Queendom. So we know these two can absolutely go. I would love to see it in an actual straight up singles match. Obviously, we didn't get it here. Again, 3.5 stars for me.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, really, because I was championing Natsuko Tora following that loss to Tomoka Inaba because of the way she lost. It was a very intelligent way to lose. But actually, it just feels like she's sort of trod water since then. It's been a very nothing tournament from Natsuko Tora, which is a shame, really. I mean, the draw to Akira Kuragane made sense in the context of the actual match itself. Again, Natsuko Tora absolutely obliterated this poor rookie around Korakuen Hall, and then basically Akira Kuragane just held onto a leg so she couldn't get back in time. I get that. That makes sense. But then when you look at all of these results alongside one another, it's not been a great tournament at all for Tora. And that's a real shame because, again, I feel like she needed a dominant run. And it doesn't feel like it at all. And this is a former red belt champion, it's worth pointing out as well.
But you look real comfortable there. You're sitting back, you got the microphone there. You got the beard going. You could tell it is a Friday night over your neck of the woods. You're going to have a pint after this, aren't you?
Do you know what, mate? Genuinely, it's because it's 4:00 my time. This is peak podcasting time for me. This is
You're ready
brilliant.
To go. You're at your top, my man. Yeah, these summer hours. I love these summer hours for me on Friday. Fortunately, they're going to be done and over with in 2 weeks. So.
Yeah. We then followed it with another draw, obviously. Maki Ito and Azusa Renaba. Now, these two had a war of words about who was the cutest at the press conference and have sort of taken barbs at each other on social media and stuff like that. So I sort of get the comedic elements that opened this match. However, I don't really feel like there was enough to fill 15 minutes for these two. And I think that Azusa Inaba's had a tremendous tournament. I think she's been really, really good. I think Maki Ito has had a very good tournament. I think her match with Utami, certainly her best of the tournament so far. This was a real nothing match for me. I know that you are going to say differently. It just felt like I look at Maki Ito, who faced Utami, and it felt like a very, very almost evenly matched match. And it felt you knew that Maki Ito was focused on this match, possibly more than Utami was, as we mentioned earlier. This here just, I don't know, it felt very, we're going to do the comedy of, who's the prettiest, who's the cutest, and then we're just going to wrestle, but the pace isn't really going to improve. And I don't know. I've already used the phrase treading water. This, for me, was a 10 minutes match stretched out over to 15. I don't think either woman really got anything from win. And I know that obviously in a tournament, you have got to do some head-scratching mathematics to make sure the right people go through at the right points in the right places. But this, for me, didn't have enough for 15 minutes, and it really threw me out of the match.
I'm going to disagree with you about 80% here, buddy. I love this match. I thought this was phenomenal. I thought it was phenomenal. I'm going to get into the reasons why. First of all, the cutie off, the cutest in the world, it's still Tam. I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, I know Willow Knight. I know I had this conversation 2 years ago at Willow Nightingale, and she's like, no, it's Maki Ito. It's kind of her thing. She's the cutest in the world. And I was like, but Tam's the cutest in the cosmos. And she told me Miyu Watanabe's a better singer than Tam. Anywho, love Miyu Watanabe. By the way, my jersey should be in soon. I'm excited. Anywho.
Nice.
You get some wrestling in the beginning, and then they go to the cutie off, which I thought was kind of funny. And then we go back, and then it gets like, Azusa gets almost ticked off because I think Azusa's like, okay, I know I'm not as cute as Maki Ito. So she boots her and sends her to the outside. And we get this wild brawl where Azusa's just kicking the crap out of Maki Ito. And I thought Maki Ito's selling here was really, really good. Back in the ring, Azusa Inaba hit some snap kicks, and Maki Ito fires up right at the right time because she had the crowd. Like, she did a great job selling on the outside and then selling the snap kicks and really had the crowd behind her. Ito comes back with some forearms and some boot scrapes. He hits a boot scrape that absolutely sends Azusa to the floor. Now Maki gets the better of the floor exchange on the outside. Back in the ring we go. Azusa fires up. Well, I love this combination. She hits a spin kick, mid kick, and a pump kick for a 2 count. Azusa hits a neck breaker and then locks Maki Ito into the ankle lock. And now we get the limb work here. So then Maki Ito rolls out of the ankle lock, tries for the half crab, but winds up going for like the ball in chain stretch muffler, which I really enjoyed. We do have Azusa gets to the ropes, but Maki Ito stays on. She stays aggressive here, hits an apron DDT. Azusa slams Maki off the top rope as Maki goes to the top rope. Azusa then just starts pouring on those brutal kicks, snap kicks, mid kicks, hits a big pump kick, and then does the locomotion style half ouch suplex a few times for a 2.9 count. Maki Ito comes back with a backstabber and into the Boston Crab. Azusa rolls out of that, and I love these submission escapes here with the knee bar. So we go from the Boston Crab as Azusa is able to transition out into the knee bar. It's like a knee bar Achilles lock, which I really loved it. Maki Ito eventually gets to the ropes. Maki Ito then uses a backslide to transition into the Ito Deluxe just as the time was expiring. Yeah, I kind of agree that maybe this didn't need to go 15 minutes. Again, you still have to do that crazy math, but I really enjoyed it. And I liked how Maki Ito had to keep countering a lot of the stuff that Azusa was doing to get into the knee, to go to the Ito Deluxe. And I love the transitions from Azusa Inaba from one submission to the other, how Azusa uses her kicks to set up her submissions and then her submissions to set up her kicks. So I really enjoyed the story I had here. Again, I enjoyed how Azusa Inaba got really ticked off at Maki Ito because I think she realized, like, okay, she's cuter than me, but I'm not going to admit it. But she's not going to be as cute when I punch her right in the face, Rob, because that's what was going on here. I love the violence, and I love Maki Ito having to up the intensity here to meet with Azusa Inaba. So again, brother, one of the very few times that I disagree, but respectfully disagree with you. And again, I don't disagree just to disagree. I gave the reasons why, I enjoyed the story in this match. Again, 4.25 stars. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And again, I think Maki Ito is having a great tournament, and Azusa Inaba probably the breakout star of the tournament, as we were literally about 8 days away from the finals of this tournament, which I don't think Azusa will qualify for, but I don't think there's anybody that has raised their stock up as much as Azusa Inaba has, at least from a bell-to-bell perspective, than her in this one.
Azusa is definitely not qualifying. She's out. But I agree with you. I agree with you wholeheartedly. And that's what makes this podcast so good, Matt. We can have those differences of opinions. Yeah, I don't know. There was something about the match, and I think it was probably because they were filling for time, and it was very obvious, at least to me, that they were filling for time, that really did sort of take me out of the match. And then on top of it, just having been a draw as well, and I didn't really understand the necessity behind the draw. But again, that's perhaps been me being hot and grumpy.
Did you by chance watch the show as a whole? Because I had to watch in pieces, and I think I watched this one like a couple hours. Okay, maybe that's what it was. Maybe because I just watch it kind of in its own bubble. And I see your point. We got a little bit of the Memphis stalling with the QT off, and then when you have a 15-minute match and it goes to the floor twice, you can burn a lot of time on the floor, which we will get into Saeed and Rina Yamashita. They burned a lot of stuff on the floor.
They did, but they made it interesting. That was the thing for me. And sure. I'm so glad you've brought that up. Please. Because these two, I think, together, I mean, Azusa Inaba has proved that she's quite funny. But again, we talked about identity. What is the match trying to be? And I feel like you had the comedy to start off with about, who's the cutest. And obviously that was the premise of this sort of mini feud that they had at the press conference. And then it was just sort of a match. And though there was good wrestling, and, you're going to struggle to find a Stardom match where there isn't good wrestling because it's such a talented roster, it just didn't seem to, it stayed stuck in like third gear. And for me, didn't really accelerate. And again, I felt like you pointed out perfectly, they went to the floor twice because, again, it felt like, right, we need to fill some more time here, so let's go outside. Whereas with Sairida and Rina Yamashita, it felt like the natural progression of the match. And that was the difference for me. I don't think this was a dreadful match. I just wasn't one that captivated me. And I think there's stock in what you said about how I watched this as a full show, whereas you watched it in bits and pieces, and especially by the end of the Mike and Rina match, where you'd got another time limit draw. It was a case of, oh my God, seriously? But that was a tremendous match. So we'll talk about that in a moment. Rina Yamashita versus Konami. Now, Konami comes out first, and her Tron, I'd gone to go and get a drink because I think it might have been the break between this and the Rina and Konami match. So I went to go and get a drink, and I came back, and just as Konami's theme hit, and they got her Tron, her video package, full screen. I honestly thought it was an advert for an energy drink because literally her screen is just that spray can with spider's legs. And I was like, is this a new flavor of Monster? What the hell is this? And then Konami came out, I was like, oh, it's the spray can. Right. Makes more sense now.
There is an energy drink over here called Venom. God. Yeah, and it's there's only a few, like Bang and Ghost are my go-to, and I'll drink like a half of one and then dive. That's what I have right here. I drank a half of one this morning with my workout, and I just keep diluting it with water. That Venom, did you ever see the movie Grown Ups with Paul Rudd and the guy that played Stifler's mom? Yes. Remember where they go to the urinal and they're urinating green? Yep. I think that's what most of these energy drinks will do to you. But anywho,
would not surprise me.
But I see your point, because I'm like, yeah, it does look like an energy drink, and it does look like the cans of Venom, that I
Yeah.
do see in the store. So yeah, good point, but nowhere near as good as the Saida.
Oh my god.
It looks like the Incredible Hulk.
The AI the AI
Spider-Man, you owe
gorilla.
her money.
Yeah, absolutely. This was really good though. Again, all of the rest of the matches for the rest of the night were fantastic. I really enjoyed them. Rini Mashita has been incredibly entertaining. Really surprised she's still in the mix right now, especially when you consider that she's had quite a few draws over the course of this tournament. But I thought she had really good chemistry with Konami. I thought that Konami working the arm made sense because Rina Master is a very power-based wrestler. But eventually, Rina just had too much for Konami. Although Konami did have the last laugh by spray painting her face anyway after the bell mat.
Yeah, the first part of this match was really dominant here. Like you had some really great wrestling exchanges, but it got really dominant here from Rina. And Konami, her first real big comeback move in this match is at 13.99. Shout out to the great Arisa Shinki. I hope she's jamming in a band somewhere. She hits the 13.99 and the rolling armbar into the belly down armbar, also known as the Nagata lock. Konami then transitioned that in the triangle lancer. Rina gets to the ropes, and then Konami, it's a beautiful German suplex. And then you're just waiting for Rina to make her comeback, and she starts build her comeback on one move, buddy, the lariat. She throws some wicked lariats. We talk about all the time like Hashimoto's lariat, and Utami's lariat, and Micah's lariat. You can throw Rina in the mix of having one of the best lariats in all of Joshi. I mean, that was great here. Rina hits a big suplex and then goes for the splash mountain. Konami slips out of the splash mountain, and then we get a ref bump because why not, Rob?
Because why
Why
not?
not? Rina and then Konami goes for the spray can, or as you call it, the energy drink, buddy.
Honestly, it is an energy drink.
I'll tell you what, again, that Venom stuff, I've seen the stuff that's in there, and I think if you poured it out, it would be all black like all the spray paint
God.
is.
Jesus.
But I like how, like, again, Arena's the deathmatch Amazoness. I just watched a match from Vegas in that deathmatch invitational where she's bleeding all over the place. So she just puts her hands up. Like, I don't care that there's spray paint on my hand. Like, she blocks it with her hands. Like, duh, like, who cares? And then she hits a headbutt on the Konami. Konami hits a head kick, and then Rena comes out with a huge lariat, and then that transitions into the B driver. So I love it how she begins her comeback with the lariat, and then she ends the comeback with blocking the spray can, giant lariat, B driver for the 3 count, 4.25 stars. I really enjoyed this. This was hard hitting, right up my alley. And again, we saw in the tournament in years past where Konami sometimes he relies on the spray can too much. If you remember, Rob, in the 2024 version of this tournament, it was when she started using it. And we're like, oh, we're just waiting for her to bite her in the ass. And it did with Micah when Micah rolled her up. And then when she went to go use it on Natsupoi, and as she was getting her ready, Natsupoi's like, I'm just going to kick you in the head because your guard is down. And she just flattened her and kicked her in the head. This time here, it, backfires her against Rena because, again, Rena knows how to use certain weapons. So, yeah, thoroughly enjoyed this one. I thought this was a really solid match.
Moving on then to the semi-main event. And for all my moaning about the amount of draws on these two shows, this, A, felt like a draw that made sense. B, was a really good match. And C, was well-paced. And that was my huge, as I'm sure I've made perfectly clear, that was my issue with the Maki Ito Azusa Inaba match. This felt very, very, very well paced. And again, just like the Sayarida and Rina Yamashita match, this felt like it had almost earned that time limit draw. Rina is special. You could tell from the way the crowd reacted when she came in. They are big on Rina. Micah, though, apparently has decided that she's going to go a bit more rogue during this tournament, attacking during entrances and things like that. We saw it at the start of the tournament with Azumi. We saw it here as well, and I quite like that news. Although, to be fair, it did look briefly like it had backfired because she then spent quite a lot of the match on the back foot.
Yeah, this was a great match. This is my favorite match of these two shows. I like this one just a little better than Utami versus Maki Ito. I thought this was great. And again, after this match and then the Micah match we're going to talk about in the next show, I think Micah might be my MVP. Obviously, we're not done on that the Death Block, the Blue Stars B. And again, obviously, I didn't see the shows today. I did see Saya versus Yuna, which is really, really good. Shocker. But I think Micah right now, Rob, is the leader of my MVP because between the Azumi match, this match with Rina, the Yuzuki Aoki match, and all the other matches, he's having a great tournament. And again, you're right, buddy. Very much like Tomoka Inaba. very aggressive towards the beginning. So we're going to see a more aggressive Micah, or we're going to see a heel Micah, and maybe her join hate once Utami, Saya, and Momo start King's Journey, buddy. So that's where possibly they can go. And then they wear hats. And then they wear hats.
Yes, they have to. They have to wear hats.
Gotta wear hats. So yeah, this was very interesting because usually we see Rena, and it does make sense because how many of these matches over the last 2 years have we seen Hate jump their opponents? So, and it would make sense for Rena to jump Micah because Micah is bigger and stronger, but Micah's like absolutely not. Micah must have watched that Momo Watanabe versus Sari match from the playoffs from last year. I just watched that the other day where she jumps her in the aisleway, and then we get this crazy brawl. But you're absolutely right. Like Rena gets the better of the brawl. Back in the ring we go. Micah slows down Rena with that big lariat tackle combination, which I absolutely love. And then the fall away slam. And then we get Micah and Rena, the old Chikara timing drill. I watched that, Rob, and I remember me 20 some years ago getting blown up when I used to go train with the fantastic folks over at Chikara. I was like, oh, how about these two? They had a brawl in the aisleway, and now they're doing the Chikara timing drill, which was phenomenal. Absolutely loved it. Eventually, the match goes back to the floor. Now, Rena gets the advantage. Micah eats the chairs. And then Rena passos Micah into the chairs. Like, I love it how Micah eats the chairs. Micah starts making her comeback, and then Micah looks like she's going to do the running shoulder tackle on the floor. And then Rena's like, nope. On delay. There you go. You eat the chairs again. Back in the ring we go. Rena with the Joshi drop kick and the running boot for a 2 count. Rena with a forearm and a beautiful Northern Light suplex. And then Rena locks in the hydrangea. Micah gets to the ropes, but Rena hits the second rope knee bomb for a 2 count. Goes to the top rope, Rob. My guess would be for the top rope knee bomb, but we'll never know because Micah stops it. And then Micah hits this crazy headbutt. Because Micah's going for the superplex. Micah's like, oh, no, just yet. We have to fill 10 seconds here because we need to get to the 15-minute mark. But you're absolutely right. Like this, literally the bell rang and I'm like, what happened? Like this would very much like the Kid versus Saya draw and the Saya versus Momo draw. It didn't feel like 15 minutes because this was great. But anywho, Micah hits a shoot headbutt. That's probably why Big Dave didn't rate it. Micah hits a shoot headbutt and a superplex, or tries for the superplex, but Rena stops the superplex, hits an arm stunner off the rope. Back to the floor we go. Eventually, though, Micah comes back. We get a boot exchange between the two. And then we get Rena hits a Northern Light suplex on the apron and then hits the knee bomb on the apron or off the apron to the floor, which is just mad. Like this was just crazy. I mean, these two were absolutely going at it. And then Robin, I knew the result of this because again, I watched this but didn't write down the notes, but they did the best job teasing a double count out. And I was like, oh man, if they went to a double, obviously went to a draw, but what we got after the double count out tease, and what I liked about the double count out tease as they were getting closer, they're getting to the 17, like, oh, they look like they're going to get in. And then Micah sells the neck because she can't get in and she slips on the getting to the apron skirt. And then Rena has trouble getting up because her knees are shot because she just decided to do a knee bomb off the apron to the floor. So they tease that and they get in at 19 and they had the crowd perfectly. And that's sometimes where it's like, okay, we're going to get in at 16 or 17, but they knew they were able to milk it, both of them at the 19 count. And the crowd was like, oh, crowd was all into this. That's why I gave it bonus points, which I'll get into in a moment. We get a boot and a lariat exchange. Micah hits a 360 lariat. Rena pulling the Scott Hall, kicking out at 1, living the dream. And then Rena blocks the 360 lariat with the boot. And then the hydrangea bomb, Micah kicks out at 1. Just as Rena looks like she's going to lock in the hydrangea, we get to 15 minutes, time limit draw. This was phenomenal. I love this match. This was great. 4.5 stars for me, brother. This is one of the time limit draws. I'm like, very much like Kid. Again, I had no problem with this being a 15-minute time limit draw. Very much like Kid versus Saya and Saya versus Momo. And again, Rob, very much like Kid versus Saya and Saya versus Momo. Even though it went to a TLD, there is a possibility we can see this in about a week's time, or maybe even this Tuesday in the playoffs. I don't think anybody would say no to any of those rematches happening this Tuesday in Korakuen Hall. I love this. This is just another great pairing that we now know that in the future, if we get a Micah versus Rena match, whether it's for the white belt or the red belt, or again, maybe this Tuesday in Korakuen Hall, we know that these two can absolutely tear down the house. Again, 4.5 stars, one of my favorite matches of this tournament, and one of my favorite match of these two shows we're going to talk about. We are talking about it, folks.
Moving on to the main event of the show, Utami Hayashishita again, a much-needed victory against Lady C, trying to build up momentum ahead of a possible playoff push. Doesn't happen, but there we are. Really good match. Really good match. Lots of hard hitting. You felt Lady C had a lot to say during this match. Obviously, there's a lot of Queen's Quest history between them. Utami left whilst Lady C was still in Queen's Quest. And even though the match only went 11 minutes, I felt like it was a really good showcase for Lady C. And again, similar to Azusa Inaba, she's another one who's had some really good matches. Her performances have been highlighted, even if the results have ultimately been lacking.
Very interesting. Again, Utami back-to-back main events. I think she main evented another show. She might have the most main events in this tournament. Back-to-back main events, yet eliminated before even the final weekend, which we're in right now, Rob, of contention. I thought this was Lady C's best match of the tournament, and all of her matches have been great. Again, I mentioned at the beginning of the show, even though Utami kind of scratching her head at some of the results, she's having phenomenal matches, like really, really phenomenal matches. And this is another one of my favorites. And I liked how Lady C took it to Utami here in the beginning with the boots, the choke slams. We get the shoulder tackle off, which Utami likes to use to build her offense, but it's having difficulty here because Lady C is taller and just as strong as Utami. But towards the end here, I mean, Utami hits an air raid crash, Lady C kicking out at one, Lady C hits a big boot, and then Utami really has to empty out the gas tank and the playbook here to beat Lady C. Pair of German suplexes again. We should have done an over under on Utami German suplexes in this tournament because she's thrown a lot, but they're all great because I think Utami has the second best German in all of wrestling behind Chihiro Hashimoto. But again, I mean, just listen to what Utami has to do to beat Lady C here. Pair of German suplexes, a big forearm, a stalling German for a 2 count, a short arm clothesline, a sliding clothesline, and a torture rack bomb. That's what she had to do to put away Lady C. So it showed Lady C had a lot of great fire, a lot of great fighting spirit here towards the end. And I mention all the time, Utami is probably the best wrestler on planet Earth, in my opinion, of making her an opponent look better than they do. And again, the fact that Utami was like going over, but it's like, hey, I'm not just going to beat you with like a simple German or the torture rack bomb. Like, I'm going to make sure you get up from all of this stuff after Lady C kind of handled the first half of the match. So again, I thought Lady C was great here. I thought Utami was phenomenal in this one. 4.25 stars for me, my friend. I thought this was a great way to end this show. Again, as I know we were complaining about a lot of the draws and the double DQ, but between like some of these matches we like Rina and Konami, Micah and Rina, as we just talked about in this one, I thought this was really the great way to end the show, send the folks home happy. Ultimately, a really great show, having a big star and a big fan favorite like Utami winning in a great match in the main event. And the predictions, Rob. Now, I will say this. Obviously, we had 2 shows this past weekend, and we had a show today. So 3 shows, right?
Okay.
Myself and my wife, our predictions, we had the same exact people predicted all but one match on 3 shows. Rob, you want to know what that one? Yeah, want to know what that one match was? Rena and Micah, and it went to a TLD.
Oh,
I had Rena, she had Micah. So yeah, we did. Obviously, we had these shows Friday, Saturday, or Saturday, Sunday, and literally that was the only one we had different. Last night we did these picks. She had a church thing that she did, and then she came home. I said, "Hey, do your picks. I'm getting ready to fall asleep." She did her picks, took the tablet. I'm like, "Okay, here's the matches." They were all the same. So literally 3 shows. We only had one prediction different, and it went to a TLD. Rob, this was our worst night. I got 2 right. She got 2 right. So going into night 11, I sit at 50. She sits at 46.
There you go. Only 4 matches in it. We move then to the second of our Sapporo shows, night 11 of the 5-star Grand Prix, the 9th of August 2026. Once again, this was at the Shataregato Kingdom Sapporo in Hokkaido. A big attendance, 716 attendance for this show, which Stardom announced to be a full house. Not only is this a 20.95% increase on the previous evening's show, which was 592, but it's also Stardom's 3rd highest attendance at the venue, following the 1,056 drawn for Sapporo Rendezvous back in July 2025 and the 732 drawn for Stardom World Rendezvous in 2024. Again, permutations heading into this show. Already eliminated Rian, Lady C, Sayaka, Kurara, Kiko Furusawa, and now Akira Kuragane. However, if Azumi defeats Akira Kuragane and Maika defeats Itsuki Aoki, they will both move to 9 points, which will eliminate Natsuko Tora, irrelevant of her result against Sayaka Kurara, and it'll eliminate Tomoka Inaba, irrelevant of her result against Rina. A win for Maika and Azumi will guarantee them a passage into the playoffs from Red Stars A. If Utami Hayashishita loses to Maki Ito, she'll be eliminated from the tournament. A winner either way in that match would also eliminate Azusa Inaba. If Utami loses to Maki Ito, by the way, a point would be enough to guarantee Saida passage into the playoffs, as she has both the tiebreakers over Maki Ito and Konami. So, quick results then, and all of these bar one are 5-star Grand Prix matches. We open with Red Stars A, Natsuko Tora moving to 8 points, defeating Sayaka Kurara, who stays on 4, pitting with the Swanton Bomb in 7 minutes and 28 seconds. Red Stars A, Azumi moves to 9 points, defeating Akira Kuragane, who stays on 1, submitting her with the numero uno in 7 minutes and 39 seconds. Tag team match, Matt, get that star rating ready. Sayori Poi, Natsupoi, and Sayoriano defeated Lady C and Waka Tsukiyama, with Natsupoi pinning Waka with the Ferial Gift in 10 minutes and 45 seconds.
3 3/4 stars.
All the rest are now 5-star Grand Prix matches. Red Stars B, Konami moves to 8, defeating Azusa Inaba, who stays on 4 and is thusly eliminated from the tournament, submitting Azusa with the Triangle Lancer in 8 minutes and 40 seconds. Red Stars A, Maika moves to 9 points, defeating Itsuki Aoki, who remains on 8 with a wrist clutch Michinoku driver 2 in 11 minutes and 40 seconds. Red Stars B, Sayurida moves to 9 points, and Rina Yamashita moves to 9 points as well when their match ended in a 15-minute time limit draw. Red Stars A, Rina moves to 7 points, defeating Tomoka Inaba, who is also eliminated, who stays on 6 points with the Pink Devil in 5 minutes and 10 seconds. And then in your main event, Red Stars B, Maki Ito moves to 8 points, defeating Utami Hayashishita, who stays on 5 and is eliminated, pinning her with her Ito Royale roll-up in 13 minutes and 5 seconds. Matt, we open with Natsuko Tora and Sayaka Kurara. Obviously, Natsuko Tora, we've already talked about having quite a disappointing tournament. Sayaka Kurara finishes her tournament with just 4 points. That plays into the storyline that we thought might happen with Sayaka Kurara's self-doubt following her dropping of the World of Stardom Championship. Her matches have still been great, mind you, have been really good. And these two have history, Matt, which they sort of played to here.
Yeah, again, very shocking that Sakura is eliminated from the this tournament. I had her and her and Utami going through. So 2 of my picks are ousted from this tournament again with a few days left. I liked how Tora was like bullying Sayaka Kurara, this is kind of like the hate versus Sayaka Kurara, almost like game plan. Whether it's Kamatani, Watanabe, Ruaka, they bully Sayaka until they get the crowd right where they need to. Then Sakura does a great job firing up with the drop kicks, the twisting forearm, that rear naked choke, and then the several spears. But eventually, if towards the end, Tora just is able to absorb enough punishment, is able to block a spear. Tora hits a huge lariat and finishes off Sakura with the Swanton Bomb. I thought a really great way to start this show. 3 3/4 stars for me.
And if Tora had had more of these matches, I don't think I'd have had the same complaints, which is a little bit of a shame, really. Azumi then defeating Akira Kuragane, and despite Akira Kuragane getting that 1 point against Natsuko Tora, I feel like this match was a foregone conclusion. The only real sort of surprise about this match was that it took 9 minutes for Azumi to get the win. Great performances again from Akira Kuragane, her first 5-star Grand Prix. Has had some memorable points, but this was all about Azumi, really.
Yeah, really great match. The crowd was really hot for this one. Really the whole entire show, but this match really got the crowd into a frenzy and kind of kept them there. I even have on my note, Really hot crowd here. Azumi's working the arm early on in the match. She uses that high speed style to kind of outpace Akira to go to the arm, which obviously plays into the finish. But Akira does a great job, like really withstanding the earlier onslaught from Azumi. Akira comes back with a low kick forearm combination, uses that to hit the half house suplex for a 2 count. Azumi comes back here with a head kick and a top rope foot stomp for a 2 count. Azumi goes for the destroyer, but Akira rolls up Azumi, and the crowd really bid on that. That's where the crowd really, really started firing up. So really great falsy for these two, and Azumi did a great job, like showing panic while she was in that cradle, but being kicked out at the last second. Azumi counters a cradle and then is able to roll through and lock Akira, going back to the arm that she was working in the big part of the first part of the match, into the double arm bar for the tap out. I was at 3 3/4 stars, but because of the crowd reaction, Rob, I always give extra credit. I was at 4 stars. I thought this was a great showing for Akira, and just Azumi showing why she's one of the best wrestlers in the planet, taking somebody that's only been wrestling about 2 years and able to have not only a really solid match that told a really great story, but was able to really whip the crowd up into a frenzy on this one, which thoroughly enjoyed.
Moving on to Konami and Azusa Inaba. Hate versus hate. Azusa Inaba's loss does eliminate her from the tournament. Again, some real standout moments for Azusa Inaba. We disagree over whether the Maki Ito match is one of them, but some really good standout moments. Of course, Azusa Inaba getting a victory over Utami Hayashishita, probably the high point of her tournament. But what did you think of this?
Konami kind of almost used the same formula that Azumi did, like worked the arm early on in the match and then went back to it, obviously with the finish being the double wrist lock transition into the triangle lancer, which I loved how Konami transitions those submissions very much like Shuri. But Azusa gets the jump on Konami here. Like she jumps Konami, we get a little bit of a brawl. Eventually, though, Konami is able to weather the early storm here from Azusa. Again, Konami is a seasoned veteran, former Goddess of Stardom champion, former Wonder of Stardom champion, former finalist of this tournament, Rob, back in 2019. Again, Konami's able to come back here with a cross arm breaker. Azusa, I love this counter. So Azusa gets Konami in the ankle lock, but then Konami rolls through and then is able to get wrist control and puts Azusa into a cross arm breaker, also known as the Japanese arm bar, and the Juji Gatami. So I love these submission transitions between the two. Konami hits a fisherman suplex. We get a kick exchange between the two. Azusa is able to hit a leg sweep into an ankle lock, which I absolutely loved. As Konami's able to get to the ropes, Azusa stops her and hits the locomotion half-out suplexes, scoring the younger Inaba sister a 2 count. We get Konami comes back with a German suplex and then is able to hit a head kick into the double wrist lock, into the triangle lancer, forcing the tap. I love a great submission match, especially when you have your strikes and submissions. It really felt like a struggle. It really felt like almost a shoot style match, a little bit of a kin to the old UWFI style match. This was right up my alley. 4.25 stars for me, my friend.
Maika and Itsuki Aoki then. Itsuki Aoki really did start this tournament like a house on fire. 4 consecutive wins and has really fallen off with 3 consecutive losses. Maika getting the win here to move to 9 points and secure her own passage into the playoffs. But I really enjoy these two as a pairing because, for a start, Itsuki Aoki just has that ability to just make me laugh, whether that's with her visuals or just with her general mannerisms. I think she's a very funny person. But then when it comes down to it, her and Maika are very similar in the way they approach wrestling matches, in that they just want to run into one another. And I'm here for it. I really am.
You're absolutely right, buddy. That's how this match started. Again, Maika has one of the best tackles in all of wrestling. And as much as I like the flippity floppy and the crazy and tribe spots, sometimes there's like a really good tackle, like a really good lockup, like a really good high five or a really good cover. And these two start the tackles and then they grab each other by the hand. It was like, okay, now we're going to see who's the strongest. And they do like wrist clutch tackles, which I'm like, I don't think I've ever seen before. And it makes sense because you're absolutely right. These two are just trying to run into each other, which I thought was great, but that wasn't enough. We get a lariat off between the two. Maika hits a Michinoku driver for a 2 count. Aoki comes back with the Bipasso slingshot German suplex and then a massive lariat. We have Izuki Aoki goes for the Rasha scissors, also known as the air raid crash. Maika slips out of that, hits a big back suplex, hits a lariat and 360 lariat combination. So I like how like a minute and a half earlier, they have a lariat off and nobody really wins. And now like Micah's like, oh, 360 lariat. Oh, and then I'm gonna hit another lariat just to show you that I have better lariats than you. We don't know who has the better tackles, but Micah towards the end here really showing she has better lariats than Izuki Aoki. Mike hits another Mijinoko driver for a 2 count. And then I love this finish. Mike hits a series of headbutts. 360 lariat again, Rob, because again, we're driving home the point of who has the better lariat. And then Micah hits the hammerlock Mijinoko driver for the 3 count. I love this. Like this was like almost 12 minutes of just these two running into each other. And I liked it how Micah just really had to go to. Once she hits that first lariat clean, she knows that's her go-to. Like, okay, now I have her off base, and she uses different variations of the lariat to kind of get to where she needs to go. And then anytime she's in trouble in the match, she knows very much like Mayu, I have that super kick that I can kind of get the match back my way. And then once Micah finally hits those last series of lariats, now it's time to take it home. Hits her nuclear finish, the hammerlock Mijinoko driver, putting away Izuki Aoki. A lot of fire and fighting power and fighting spirit from Aoki in this match. We really seen it in the tournament. I really think this match was kind of the culmination of what we've seen from Aoki in this tournament. Aoki's been great in this tournament. This was my favorite match she's had. And again, Micah, maybe the MVP thus far. I know we're still not done yet, folks. Thus far for me in this tournament, 4.25 stars for me. And nice seeing Micah move on yet once again in the 5-star Grand Prix, which goes to show you just what a great tournament wrestler Micah is. You look at, she won the Goddess of Stardom tag league a couple years ago as part with Megan Bain. She made it to the finals of the 2021 Cinderella tournament, won the 2024 version of this tournament. In 2023, she made it to the finals. And now, Rob, regardless of what happens, Micah's in the playoffs here. So when you talk about the greatest tournament wrestlers in Stardom history, obviously Micah, she's not done yet, not by a long shot. But you got to put Micah's name up in there because of considering all the cachet she's done in this tournament in years past and continues to do. She definitely has a high winning percentage when it comes to tournament wrestling in Stardom.
I rather tongue-in-cheek called this match the Kenta Kobashi and Kensuke Sasaki of Stardom matches. And whilst it's not even in the same conversation as that match, there was certainly a hell of a lot of chops in this, and not just in the ring. There was chops in the ring. There was chops on the outside of the ring. There was chops on the chairs. There was chops stood on the chairs. There was chops behind the sort of dangly fabric. There was chops absolutely everywhere in this match, and both women's chest looked horrendous afterwards. But once we'd got round all of that, and once we'd finished with the chop exchange, which Sayurida did win in the end, we got a real frantic sprint to the finish, which I really enjoyed. I felt it had its bit. So whereas Azusa Renaba and Maki Ito's bit was who's the cutest, this match's bit was whose chops are better. Once they'd finished their respective bits, you then got Sayurida and Rina Yamashita, who I feel like had this brilliant sprint to the finish, fantastic timing with the vertical drop brainbuster to only get the 2 count before the bell. Whereas I don't feel like Azusa Renaba and Maki Ito had that. They didn't have the sprint to the finish. There wasn't the frantic nature to try and get the win. And that's why it felt to me like it was a little bit slow, a little bit not plodding, because that would insinuate it was a bad match, and it wasn't a bad match.
Say it,
Memphis. Yeah, it was Memphis. a little bit Memphis.
Let's watch some Memphis from the 70s, buddy, when I go over there. Let's get hammered and watch like Jerry Lawler, Bill Dundee go like an hour, but have the crowd in the palm of their hands because they did nothing yet did everything. Yeah, we're going to watch some Memphis. The girls will be like, this is so boring. I'm like, this is genius.
You guys don't understand this. You don't understand.
Lawler in Memphis. You kidding me?
What is a Dundee? Doesn't matter, Kirsty.
But I totally see your point, because all these TLDs, not the double countouts, but majority of these TLDs had that frantic sprint towards the end. This one, Mike and Rena, we just talked about. Again, the 2 Saya matches with Momo and Starlight Kid, they all had that. Like, if it just had an extra few seconds, we would have had a winner. Which, like, Ito kind of had Azusa in the Ito Deluxe, but they really haven't established that as a finish that much this year. They've kind of established more or less the stunner. But so yeah, I see your point there, my friend. Again, some things I agree and disagree with you with, but that's, you made great points, and I think that I made great points, and I totally see your thing here on the Sasaki Kobashi match. I tell you, the star rating was kind of close. I'll give this one 5.5 stars. I loved it because we've seen it before where wrestlers, you don't need to do 1,000 moves to tell a story. Go ahead, you're gonna say something, buddy.
Do you mean 4.5?
What'd I say?
5.5.
Oh, sorry, 4.5.
Just
Yes.
broke your scale this one.
Broke my scale. It was better than Sasuke and
Right. Okay.
Kabashi.
Sorry. Do carry.
No, thank you, buddy. I appreciate you. I notice sometimes when I go back and listen to the shows, I'm like, no, I meant to say this. I just listened to Talk Joshi, and Heather and I were talking about Ricky Steamboat and Ric Flair. I'm like, when I had those great matches in the late '90s, and I was like, late '90s, Matt, you dumbass, that was the late '80s. Those are like your favorite matches. I was like, but anyway, thank you for correcting me, good sir. But yeah, these two told a great story on the chops. And then they went back in there and they started hitting their big moves. Like Rena. Rena's got a very underrated top rope splash. Like she hits the top rope splash as we're building towards the end on Ida for a 2 count. Rena then follows it up with a huge lariat. Sai comes back with a top rope tackle. Love that. Rena Rena goes for the splash mountain. This is a great falsy. Rena goes for the splash mountain. Ida trips her up with the Ida Bashi because again, they've established that finisher over the years, especially in these tournaments, for a 2.9 count. And then they go back to the chop fest because that was like the first 30-40% of this match was built around the chops. And then they go back and then they start hitting the bombs and they go back to it a little bit. And then Rena stops the chop fest with a huge lariat, like establishing the lariat here. Then Saida comes back and was like, oh, I'm really good at that too. Hits a massive lariat to Rena, puts her down long enough for Ida to hit the vertical drop brainbuster, very Kawada style. But the time limit expires. 4.5 stars. I absolutely love this. Again, throw Ida and Rena into the mix with about 80% of the wrestlers in this tournament for possible MVP, which again, Rob, is going to be really interesting over these last few shows who actually does walk away as our MVP because there's a lot of people that are up for the candidacy. It's exactly what you knew it was going to be. These two are hard hitting, no BS, up in your face pro wrestling, and they didn't try to do anything that wasn't there. You know, they didn't try to do the world of sports style. They didn't do any lucha arm drags. Like these are two hard hitting, badass women that are like, hey, who's the harder hitter? Who can absorb the most? Let's do chops all over the building. Then let's bring it back to our big moves. And then we did a little bit of chops towards the end. And then Rena hits that big lariat. And you can just see in her eyes, like, oh, I got her. I got her. She turns around. Ida's like, hits that left-handed lariat, the Dynamite Kid style lariat, and that beautiful brain buster. But the time expires. Beautiful story. It was beautifully violent, right up my alley. Again, 4.5 stars. Absolutely love this match. And good on Ida making it to the playoffs in this tournament. Possibly the 1 seed, too.
Hell yeah. I mean, it would, I think, did Rena beat Sayurida? I just need to double check. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Rena.
Sorry, not Rena. Ignore me. Did Makito beat? No, so Sayurida has got the tiebreaker over Makito and Konami. So if she beats Meisea on the final night, or in her final match, should I say, she'll go through as top seed. Because Rina Yamashita's got no more matches. Konami has only got Maki Ito left and vice versa. So they can only get to 8 points. So yeah, if Sayurida gets a win, I think she's already top seed.
So Ida's through. Who do you think the other 2 seeds are?
I think Rina Yamashita's. Oh no, sorry. So Meisea is currently on 3 points. She's got 3 matches left, so can get to 5, 7. So she can get to 9 as well. And she has Sayurida left. So if she beats Sayurida, she will take the top seed, I think.
Is that on the Sunday show? Saida Meisea?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, man, I'm excited. I'm so excited.
Yeah, so Meisea could potentially take the number 1 seed, although she has got the losing tiebreak to Rina Yamashita. So it does make me wonder if we're going to end up with some sort of 3-way dance between Saya, Meisea, and Rina Yamashita. Because if Meisea wins her next 3 matches, she's on 9 points. Rina Yamashita's on 9 points. Sayurida is on 9 points. Sayurida drew with Rina Yamashita. Meisea will have beaten Sayurida, and Rina Yamashita will have beaten Meisea. So there's no tiebreak there. I don't quite know how they would sort that. But basically, if Meisea wins all 3 of her matches, she's through with these 2. Because Konami and Maki Ito are on 8 points. If Meisea loses one of these matches, it's irrelevant. And the winner of Maki Ito and Konami goes through.
Math, folks. Rob Goodwin. Math
Yeah.
guy here.
About 15 people have just unsubscribed. We've then got to the semi-main event, and considering the 15-minute time limit draws and all of the draws we've talked about, we then had a 5-minute sprint between Tomoka Inaba and Rina, which was surprising, but quite a cool change of pace, especially as we've just been talking about Tomoka Inaba's added aggression and violence.
Yeah, she had to here. As soon as the bell rings, she hits the pump kick, and then the spin kick for a 2 count. Again, she won the last match, the match we just talked about, with the kick and spin kick combination. So, she is right out the bell here, beating up Rina. Rina's got to use a little bit of, in the words of the late, great Dusty Rose, a little dastardly tactics, baby, to slow down Tomoka. Ref gets distracted. We get the Rina whip. So then Rina's able to take over here, gets the Hydranger. Inaba comes back with a pump kick, blocks the Pink Devil with a head kick, and the Inaba drop for a 2 count. Rina ducks the 1 hit, 1 kill PK with a jackknife for a 2.9 count. Inaba comes up and hits the huge pop-up roundhouse kick onto Rina, and then Inaba comes off the ropes looking for maybe another running boot, but Rina uses the running boot to finally hit the Pink Devil for the 3 count. 5 minutes, buddy, but I loved it very much. If you remember 2 years ago, we got Inaba and Mayu went 4 minutes and it was great, and then we had Azumi and Natsupoi went 3 minutes and it was still really great. I was at 4 stars. I thought it was a terrific match, and what it always sets in paces in the back of your head that these matches could be over pretty quick, but they told a great story. These two, again, it was all killer, no fill. They still had the selling. It wasn't like move just to do a move, because the match was really built around the Pink Devil. Rina tried to hit it twice to put away Tomoka, and it's Tomoka almost going too fast for her own good, that too fast for love, as Motley Crue would say, too fast for her own good, that leads for Rina to hit the big boot to Tomoka and finally open up the door to hit the Pink Devil. So again, 5 minutes, still able to tell a great story, with Tomoka maybe being too aggressive, and then Rina just looking for that one shot, pun intended here, to get to the Pink Devil. Again, I really enjoyed it. Wish it would have went longer. But maybe, maybe somewhere down the line, we get these two in a long match, because these two are really special athletes.
And then in your main event, obviously Maki Ito defeating Utami Hayashishita. We have already talked about this. We have already talked about the permutations. We've already talked about the fact that Utami Hayashishita is now out of the tournament. As a match, the match was very good. And this sort of put into context what I keep coming back to this Azusa match. I didn't not like the Azusa match. It did nothing for me. This, however, was a motivated Maki against someone who matches her stylings in a lot of ways, but is also diametrically opposite in many others. I think they paired quite well.
I like how Maki's going to the half crab in the leg. We've seen it. We've seen it in the Tokyo Joshi Pro Days. She uses that half crab to set up for that Ito Deluxe, basically her version, almost as like the Lion Tamer and the Texas Cloverleaf kind of melded into one. So she tries that early on Utami. Tommy's able to power out, and then we get this really cool exchange where we get a forearm and headbutt exchange, but then the two of them kind of almost like drop, like with Maki Ito supposedly having the head of a Samoan, and Utami throwing some of the best forearms you've seen since Masato Tanaka. So I really like that. Maki dodges a sliding lariat back to the half crab. Utami gets out of the half crab with a lariat and a sliding lariat combination for a 2 count. Utami goes for a big stalling suplex. Maki Ito stops that with the stone cold stunner, and then the running double stomp for a 2 count. Maki Ito hits a pair of tornado DDTs that Utami takes like Rob Van Dam in like 97. I mean, just properly planting herself on her own head. Again, Utami, what she's able to do by making good moves look great and great moves look deadly is really, really a special talent that Utami does, and shows how unselfish she is. Tommy hits a torture rack bomb for a 2 count, and then Ito slips out of the hijack bomb with a roll up, and then is able to transition into the Texas Cloverleaf, and then using the Texas Cloverleaf, which again, she's been going after the leg pretty much the entire match. She, instead of going for the actual Cloverleaf, she rolls all the way over into like a Texas Cloverleaf jackknife pin. Utami's not able to get out, scoring the 3 count. I thought this was a phenomenal match, 4 1/4 stars. And you're right, buddy. We talked about it enough the beginning of this show about, why wasn't Utami upset of not only losing, but like out of the tournament. But regardless, I thought the match as a whole was fantastic. One of my favorite matches of these two shows we talked about. And again, one of Maki Ito's best matches I've ever seen. I think this might be her best singles match in Stardom. I thoroughly enjoyed this. And again, Utami showing why she's one of the best wrestlers in the world, even coming off a loss. And again, let's see how the rest of this year plays out for Utami Hayashishita.
So let's have a look then at where we are in the tournaments and in terms of the blocks themselves. So in Red Stars A, Maika and Azumi both sit top of the block on 9 points. Both have already qualified. Itsuki Aoki currently in third place on 8 points in the final playoff spot. Tora already eliminated. She's on 8 points, but has wrestled all of her matches and has lost the tiebreaker to Itsuki Aoki. Rina is the only other person that can qualify. She currently sits on 7 points, 3 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw. Tomoka Inaba on 6, Sayaka Kurara on 4, and Akira Kuragane on 1. All are already eliminated. Red Stars B, things a little bit more up in the air. Sayurida top on 9, Rina Yamashita second on 9, Konami currently on 8 in third position alongside Maki Ito as well. They both square off in the final match of their tournament. Utami Hayashishita already eliminated on 5 points. Meisera currently is the only person that can spoil that party at the top of Red Stars B. She's on 3 points, but she's only wrestled 5 of her 8 matches. Azusa Renaba on 4 and Lady C on 2, already out of the tournament. Blue Stars, there's still a hell of a lot to play for. A lot of people still with 3 matches to go. So currently, Suzu sits top at 8. Ruaka and Julia Hart, the other 2 in the top 3 positions on 6 points. Aya Sakura, Hanako, Miyu Amasaki all sit on 4 alongside Hina. Rian, currently the only person from Blue Stars A eliminated. She's waiting for her first point of the tournament. And then in Blue Stars B, Momo Watanabe at the top on 7. Hanan and Saya Kamatani round out those playoffs on 6 points. Starlight Kid just outside on 5. Koguma, Amisori, and Yuna Mizumori all on 4 points, though Amisori has wrestled 1 less match than the other 2. Kikyo Furusawa is the only person eliminated out of Blue Stars B so far. She is currently on 0. Looking ahead then, obviously today on the 14th, we were in Kobe. A couple of matches to really look at there. You've got Hanako versus Rian, Aya Sakura versus Suzu Suzuki, which I believed main evented in Aya Sakura's hometown. Starlight Kid versus Koguma, Hanan versus Momo Watanabe, Saya Kamatani versus Yuna Mizumori as well. Julia Hart facing Miyu Amasaki as well. Night 13, which is tomorrow, is KBS Hall in Kyoto. Sayurida versus Meisera will be on that show. Suzu Suzuki versus Ruaka, Aya Sakura versus Rian, Hanako versus Julia Hart, Miyu Amasaki versus Hina in Miyu Amasaki's hometown. Blue Stars B, Momo Watanabe versus Koguma, Hanan versus Yuna, Starlight Kid versus Kikyo, and Saya Kamatani versus Amisori, which will be a very, very tasty matchup. And then night 14, the final night of block action, the 16th of August, Act City, Hamamatsu in Shizuoka. We have got Maika versus Akira Kuragane, Azumi versus Rina, which could effectively decide the top seeding in Red Stars, especially if Akira is able to do something against Maika. Unlikely. Red Stars B, Maki Ito versus Konami, and Meisera versus Utami. So whereas we thought it might be Meisera spoiling Utami on the final night, might well be the opposite way around. Utami might spoil Meisera's tournament if she can get a win there. Blue Stars, Hanako versus Ruaka. Suzu Suzuki versus Julia Hart. Suzu Suzuki at the moment, the only unbeaten person in the entire tournament. So it'll be interesting to see what we pull there. Amisori versus Starlight Kid, and Hanan versus Saya Kamatani. Blue Stars B really heating up on the 16th of August at City Hamamatsu.
Rob, real quick, I just figured something out. I think the reason why they pulled Utami, why she's not even qualified going in this final night, because I think they want Meisera to go through. If Meisera beats Utami, I think it puts heat on Meisera because everybody loves Utami. Maybe that's one way they were looking at it. I don't know. That's just my demented brain.
You could have Meisera kick a dog in the middle of the ring and people aren't going to hate Meisera, Matt.
Yeah, Yeah, but then again, it's Utami. I don't know. I just really like Utami, but I like May Sarah as well. I like everybody.
You
Yeah, I
can
like.
fit me. You can fit May Sarah in a locker. You can't not like her.
Yeah, I like everything, like Star Wars Episode 2. Real quick, buddy.
Right.
Myself and Amber. See, I'm going. I already transitioned off that. I don't want to get any more heat. Myself with 4, Amber with 4. So going into today's show, which again we all have the same predictions. I don't know how we keep doing
Good
that.
Lord.
I have 54 and Amber has 50. However, out of all the people that I put in the playoffs, I have more people already eliminated than she does. And then technically, she did tell me last night she has that 5-point handicap. So she'd be a 55-54. However, if Kamatani wins the whole thing, then that might do it in. But we shall see, my friend. Easy for me to say.
Who does Amber have winning the whole thing?
Utami Hayashishita.
Oh.
So does Andy Header. Yeah. So
Yeah.
me and you are still alive with Saya Kamatani.
We are. We're alive in no other way in our predictions, but with Sai Kamatani winning, that's the main thing.
Might be Julia Hart at this point.
It might well be Julia Hart. Can you imagine the uproar?
Julia. They're finally chanting for Julia, buddy.
They are. Matt, let's finish this episode the only way we know how, and that is with a trip to EO Watch, my friend.
Bro, did you see this match?
No, I didn't.
Fantastic. I'll tell you right now, 4.25 stars. So it was announced that mystery partner here, tag match, we have Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne from the Judgment Day taking on Sol Ruca and nobody else. It's a mystery partner.
Makes sense.
So you're like, EO's not on the card, and who else has heat with Judgment Day? So this was an easy one to pick. Obviously, turns out to be EO. We get some heat on, obviously after the first, we get the shine in the beginning from Sol Ruca. We get some heat onto Sol Ruca. EO comes in, and we have Sol Ruca and EO with dueling handspring drop kicks that send the Judgment Day team to the floor. EO goes for the suicide dive, but Raquel catches her. Sol Ruca then does an Ase moonsault off the post onto both EO and Raquel, and then Roxanne does a running dive off the apron. I'm like, holy geez, how about that? Raquel counters Roxanne counters a suplex with an X Factor. We get a hot tag to EO. We get EO and Roxanne with some arm drags exchanges, and then EO with some palm strikes. EO hits the bullet train onto Raquel Rodriguez while they're on the apron. EO follows that up with the Joshi drop kick and then tags in hits a tornado DDT onto Raquel for a 2 count. Roxanne Perez comes in to spoil the party, but Sol Ruca is a drop kick and a shining wizard shouts out to the Great Muta onto Roxanne Perez. Roxanne Perez hits a Hurricanrana that sends Sol Ruca to the floor. And then Raquel Rodriguez shouts out to Tully Blanchard, the slingshot suplex onto EO. And then Roxanne Perez does the lion salt onto EO. I'm like, what a great tag move that was. So we go from Tully Blanchard to Chris Jericho so seamlessly. And this match was unbelievable. Really fantastic stuff. Back in the ring comes Sol Ruca to make the save. EO hits a bullet train onto Roxanne Perez, and then Sol Ruca hits a German suplex onto Roxanne Perez. EO then takes out Raquel on the outside with the Ase moonsault. Sol Ruca turns around, eats a super kick from Roxanne Perez. Roxanne Perez goes for the pop rocks, but Sol Ruca does a moonsault to counter the pop rocks. She hits a super kick and then the soul snatcher onto Roxanne Perez for the 3 count. This was so good. This was like a Joshi style tag match. You're like, oh my goodness, how much crazy stuff can they do? But yet it all fit. It didn't feel rushed. They were selling. There was timing. There was a little bit of cheating to get heat on the heels. There was great fire from EO. And I thought Sol Ruca here looked fantastic. And EO did a lot of stuff to set up Sol Ruca. And I just thought, like, you can tell Raquel was like the powerhouse here. She was doing all the power stuff, and they did a great job keeping her strong. And ultimately, a really great sequence with Roxanne and Sol Ruca towards the end. Again, folks, if you like Joshi tag matches, this was a Joshi tag match. This was great. Again, 4.25 stars. Highly, highly recommended. And as always, thanks to Newcastle's own Darren Chatton. Yeah, the big Newcastle fan himself. Darren Chatton for giving me the time cues and then telling me all of the great Newcastle matches he loves to watch and how he's just a massive fan of that team, buddy. So,
what matches, Matt?
Oh, he loved Flair and Steamboat from the Newcastle. He was a big fan of the Homer Simpson, Maggie Simpson.
Yeah,
And we
absolutely.
can throw a
Why the
Simpson
hell not?
reference in, so let's do it at the end. It's neat.
Ladies and gentlemen, that does bring us to the end of our episode. Thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate it. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing on the podcast app of your choice. We are literally everywhere. Leave us a comment, 5-star review really helps the podcast, and it is a free way to show your support. Patreon.com/World of Joshi or www.worldofjoshi.com, where you can find all of our archived episodes, as well as a whole host of bonus content, as well as all our show reviews, our show previews, our end of month stats, all of that good stuff for both Stardom, Marigold, and all of that. You can find us on social media at WOJ Wrestling. Talk to me on Twitter if you so wish. Can't imagine why you'd want to, but
Stop.
I'm there anyway. At Real Rob Goodwin, Mr. Turner, sign us off, good sir.
Folks, questions, comments, suggestions, anything you need from me, Matt Turner OF on the Instagram and the Twitter is the easiest, fastest, and bestest way to get a hold of me. Follow me on TikTok, M Turner over there, or you can shoot me an email, matt@worldofjoshi.com, as well as the StardomCast22@gmail.com. Folks, that's going to wrap it up for this episode. We greatly appreciate your support. Can't do without you. It's like I always say, it's just not my podcast. It's our podcast. Because when all together, everybody's different. Everybody's special.